Good morning, everyone. Just before we start, I just wanted to touch base on the tragedy that happened in Tumbler Ridge. So, over the past 2 weeks, our region, our province, and our country have had to begin to come to grips with the tragedy that took place in Tumbler Ridge. Today, I want to take a moment to remember all those that were lost. I also want to recognize the incredible bravery of the survivors and the dedicated educators and caregivers who did their utmost to bring calm in the midst of chaos. The courage of our first responders and the kindness of all of those who stepped up to help in a million different ways. The magnitude of this event has rocked us all to our core. But the response by the people of the north of our province and from across the country, from businesses and leaders at every level, that has made me incredibly proud and beyond grateful. I'd like to ask you all to stand with me in a moment of silence and remembrance and recognition for Tumbler Ridge. Thank you. I'd like to call our regular meeting of City Council for Monday, February 23rd, 2026 to order. The City of Dawson Creek acknowledges that we are privileged to live and work on Treaty territory in the traditional home of the Cree, Danazay, Saulteaux, Siksika, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis peoples that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. Our delegations, so our first delegation, 2.1, I'd like to welcome Ruth Viner, Laurette Norman, Marilyn Alexander, and Mary Beaulne with the Landry Women's Institute in attendance regarding the proclamation to declare February 22nd to the 28th, 2026 as Landry's Women Institute Week in Dawson Creek. So, good morning, ladies. Yeah, you can come up here. Is it? Maybe a few years ago, because it used to be that way, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Has it been that long since you've been in here? You were here last year.
You were here last
year. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it used to be the other way where the mayor was at the front. So. Well, good morning and welcome. It was nice catching up in the foyer this morning. So, whereas Women's Institute Week will be observed across the province from February 22nd to the 28th, 2026. Whereas the British Columbia Women's Institute is a diverse group of interested, involved, and educated women who work together to expand their skills, broaden their interests, and improve conditions in the home, the community, and the world through service, learning, and fellowship. Whereas the Women's Institute sponsors and promotes programs related to agricultural, citizenship, home economics, health and welfare, and cultural development, reflecting its long-standing commitment to strengthening communities. Whereas the Women's Institute contributes at the local, regional, provincial, national, and international levels, offering activities and opportunities that reflect the diverse interests and talents of women throughout British Columbia. Now, therefore, I, Darcy Dover, Mayor of the City of Dawson Creek, do hereby proclaim February 22nd to the 28th, 2026 as Women's Institute Week in the City of Dawson Creek and encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing this important occasion. And yeah, I just want to thank you for what you do, but just thank you for coming in to this morning. And I just really enjoyed our conversation this morning when we can talk about community and kindness and love, and it just just really opened me up. So it just a good way to start my day, seeing all four of you. So yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. So I don't know if you had a few words you wanted to say, but I do have a mic, just so if there's any. You don't? Okay.
I don't think so.
Then I won't put you on the spot.
No, I'll just say it out without the mic.
Okay.
I appreciate the proclamation that you give us each year for our February time, but I think most of all, I appreciate the fact that you recognize the contribution we make in our community through giving to homeless or whatever, because it is a community that builds it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And we're so lucky to have ours, so thank you for that recognition.
Yeah, you're welcome. I always say, like, the thing that makes us where we live so beautiful is our people.
Totally.
Because it's when it comes down to anything, it's really what this is all about, is the strength in our people that we have. So
Totally.
yeah, so you're welcome. So I will just grab a pen, which I forgot to bring up here.
I'm not going to use it that way.
Here you go. The picture. Did you want me in the middle? Did you?
Yeah, I think so would be better.
Okay.
Okay.
I listen well.
Yeah,
He really does hear this, doesn't
you
he?
didn't have to do that.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
ladies, for coming in.
Thank you.
Stay warm. Be
Yes.
safe out there.
Thank you, Darcy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. We're ready on Teams. Okay. All right, next, 2.2, we have Emma Hamill, Regional Manager of Sheltering with Cariboo North, BC SPCA, in attendance via Teams regarding BC SPCA services in Dawson Creek. So, good morning, Emma. Can you hear me?
Good morning, I can. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the floor is all yours, so thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'll just load up my SharePoint here and ensure that you folks can see that.
Yeah, we can see that.
Perfect. Great. Well, yes, thank you so much for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Emma. I am the acting regional manager for the Cariboo North. So I am covering from Prince Rupert to Quesnel, Williams Lake, and Fort St. John in Dawson Creek. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what our animal services contract looks like with the city. And so, yeah, just going over the agenda for what I'll discuss, talking a little bit about the BC SPCA and our provincial scope, looking at 2025 at a glance, our specific contracting services with you, and other programs and services that we are offering in the city outside of the contract. And then at the end, I'll have some time for questions. The BC SPCA is a registered charity nonprofit. We are primarily funded by donors with no ongoing or operational funding from the provincial or federal government. Throughout BC, we operate 31 community animal centers, 2 full-service veterinary hospitals, 2 spay and neuter specific clinics, and 1 wildlife rehabilitation facility. We are the only body that enforces the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act within BC. In 2025, we launched our strategic plan, moving away from more of a sheltering model to really focusing on animals and people thriving together. So we've updated our mission to protecting vulnerable animals and mobilizing communities so animals and people thrive together. This is a long-term goal that we'll be addressing, not just within the next 5 years, but over the next 20 years. This is going to be an ongoing project. So looking at the root causes of animal suffering, advocating for systemic change at the provincial and federal government levels, strengthening our services and safety net to prevent suffering, and reduce vulnerability of animals, and of course, nurture our long-term organizational health to ensure we could be here for animals for as long as we can. The BC SPCA has various programs and services from animal services and protection. There's many different things that we're doing here, and I'll give you a second to kind of go over that. But predominantly with those 31 animal shelters, sheltering and adoptions and caring for some of BC's most vulnerable animals is a huge part of what we do. And investigations, of course, with our animal protection services. With our new mission and vision, we are focusing more on outreach and community services, offering things like pet food banks, emergency boarding, Safekeepers foster care program, which is for folks fleeing domestic violence, and getting to some of those root causes of overpopulation through further spay and neuter funding. On top of that, we're focusing on social change, bringing humane education to communities, advocating again for animals in legislation. We have an animal kind dog trainer accreditation, and then our BC Pet Registry, which allows for animals to be reunited with their owners through identification. This is what we have done in 2025 across the province, so assisting more than 135,000 animals, rescuing over 14,000, reuniting only 1,300, but again, adopting almost 10,000 animals into new homes. We do have our animal protection helpline, which we respond to 64,000 calls and emails across the province there. Caring for over 2,000 wild animals at Wild Ark, which is on Vancouver Island, and providing over 720,000 meals through our pet food bank. In Dawson Creek, our animal services contract ensures there are 2 designated animal control officers that conduct patrols of the city and parks, enforce the animal control bylaw, issuing tickets and collecting fines as necessary, responding to complaints about barking and dangerous dogs, picking up or seizing injured and stray animals and removing dead animals when found, providing a vehicle for animal control services, operating our shelter, and facilitating adoptions and selling licenses in Dawson Creek. This is an overview of the licenses that were sold in 2025. Of course, there's quite a bit more dog licenses that we're seeing. We do have different licenses for those that are spayed and neutered and intact. And as you can see here, it's nice to see that most of the animals that we are licensing are in fact spayed and neutered. We also issue licenses for hens and beehives. So that's an overview of our licensing servicing with you. In 2025, our animal control officers, that's Emma Russell, one of them on the left there, they were dispatched to around 520 animal control calls in Dawson Creek, and that brought in 336 animals through this contract. These are the different reasons for service calls. The primary one here being animals at large, noise complaints, and bylaw complaints, but some important ones from patrolling the areas, checking licenses, ensuring folks in the community are licensing their animals, addressing animal welfare concerns, picking up animals as needed. A large important one here is the dog bites and Canada Post dog incidents, or aggressive dogs and dogs attacking livestock. And then, of course, seeing animals in hot or cold cars. This is what that has translated to in our incoming and outgoing. So from those 520 calls, we have brought in 183 cats, 149 dogs, and 4 others, others being mostly rabbits in this case. Reasons for these animals coming in, predominantly strays. 66 owner surrenders directly to our animal control officers, 9 emergency boarding requests, so folks who may be hospitalized, experiencing loss of housing, maybe their home is flooded, or other emergencies have come up and they've needed temporary care for their animals. Picking up 12 animals that have been found dead on arrival, and 17 other, which can look like impounding animals for not paying fees, those kind of things. Redemptions is what we use to describe when animals are reunited with their owners. So through licensing or microchipping, we're able to find where the animals are coming from and reunite them. So that has looked like 22 cats, 69 dogs, and one other animal. From this group of contract intakes, we were able to adopt out 27 cats, 17 dogs, and one other. Something I'd like to point out is that this total intake is 65% of South Peace Center's total intake of animals. So it's a large part of the work that we're doing in Dawson Creek. In total, including our contract, but having the animals that are coming in through other ways, we've brought in 533 total animals. These are from transferring in from locations like North Peace, owner surrenders that are coming directly to the animal shelter. And of course, a big part of this is our animal protection services. Because Dawson Creek has a smaller adoption base, we've used our Drives for Lives program. So 236 animals have been transferred to other BC SPCA locations through our Drives for Lives program. And this allows us to make consistent room for strays and animals that are needing to come into the shelter through our contract services. All animals that come in receive vaccines, parasite control, and examinations. And if they are there longer than the stray hold, which is 3 days for animals with ID, 4 days with animals without ID, they become BC SPCA property. We spay and neuter them and then move them along their pathway, whether that is adoption in Dawson Creek or transfer. Most animals that come in need further medical care for ongoing chronic and infectious disease. So that's where a lot of our work is being focused on as well. Outside of the contract, some of the things we're doing in Dawson Creek are our food bank, providing food for 550 animals in 2025. We have a humane education team that's providing virtual curriculum-based presentations across BC. We have our emergency boarding, which I mentioned earlier, 14 total animals outside of the contract coming in for emergency boarding. And then a large part of our intakes outside of our contract with you is our animal protection services, responding to 174 calls in Dawson Creek for animal cruelty, 556 calls in the Peace region, and bringing in 100 animals directly into our South Peace location through that program. That's a little bit of what we're doing for you and the community of Dawson Creek. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have now.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Emma, for the presentation and being here this morning. I'll open it up to council here for questions. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Emma, for the presentation. So a couple, I guess, questions or lines of inquiry. It's clear from the numbers around intake and redemptions that the vast majority of animals coming into your shelter aren't chipped or tattooed with identifying it's something that would allow you to return it to owners. And I guess I think that kind of goes to the heart of some of the frustrations we have around this particular issue is it's largely driven by negligence of a few, we all have pets. They're not machines you can program. They have a mind of their own. We understand things happen, but not spaying or neutering your pet isn't an accident. Not, doing your part to ensure your pet doesn't have communicable diseases isn't an accident. Not microchipping your pet isn't an accident. And you'd mentioned that you guys were moving towards a more proactive advocacy-based, or you were adding a more proactive advocacy-based element to your organization. So I guess my question around that would be, what policies would you as an organization recommend in order to better deter negligent people from adopting pets they're either unable or unwilling to take care of properly, and then obviously that burden falls to the rest of us.
Yeah, great question, and a complicated one. I think something that we see as well is that there are a lot of barriers to spaying and neutering animals and having them receive vet cares, and a lot of misinformation as well, right? So I think a big part of our advocacy is talking about why spaying and neutering is important, not just for overpopulation, but for the overall health of your animal. Something that we will be starting in March is a low-cost spay and neuter program, and the Dawson Creek Veterinary Services, I believe, will be on board with helping that. So finding ways to encourage spay and neuter is a big thing, because a lot of these animals are just accidental litters that are straying. Overpopulation, I think, is the biggest piece here. And then microchipping as well. I think there's a lot of misinformation about microchipping, what that looks like within the community. And that's something we'd be definitely interested in too, is having some kind of microchip clinic to support, educate, and encourage more microchipping in the community. So between the spay and neuter voucher program that we'll be issuing starting in March, we can also, animals will be microchipped through that program, but that's something else we can look into providing in Dawson Creek as well. But yeah, a big part of it is that education piece and correcting misinformation that's out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess second part is, and it's not necessarily, the split between the in Dawson Creek cases, which you say represent about 65% of your workload at the local site, and I guess 35% coming from rural areas. So, and this isn't necessarily your organization's fault, but you've stumbled into a long-standing tug of war between ourselves and the rural areas about who pays for what services, who benefits for what services, how that works out. And I know in previous conversations we've had with your predecessors or colleagues, they've explained that even though you don't have an active contract with certain parts of the rural region in Pouce-Coupe, your work, I guess that 35% is represented or funded through donations, and that it's not being subsidized by the residents of Dawson Creek. And I know this became kind of a hot topic when we were renegotiating the contract a year or so back, and there was a significant price escalation for us. There was a concern at that time that, we're essentially subsidizing the base cost of operating the facility, and then yes, the rural component is paid for by donations, but it seemed like a bit of a shell game the way it was explained. And I know it's a source of considerable tension for us, because it's just kind of a long-standing, frustrating thing we have to contend with, is providing services for a lot of people, and they're not necessarily kicking in their share. So can you speak to that at all? And how, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the contract specifically, but anything you could add to that would be helpful.
Yeah, and maybe I should just clarify as well. So of that 35%, some of those are coming from within the city of Dawson Creek, but they're coming from outside of the contract. So what that's looking like is animal owners coming directly to our shelter, not through the animal control sphere. And so in addition to that, there's that 100 animals that we're bringing in through our animal protection services for negligence, cruelty, and those pieces. So, that's about, we're getting down to maybe 20% of the animals from rural communities. And, in the grand scheme of things, I would say that most animals that come into care with their spaying and neutering, their veterinary care, the care that our staff is providing them, each animal is about $1,000. So if we're bringing in 533 animals a year into this location. It's $533,000 that the SPCA is spending on these animals, with your contributions covering a large portion of that. But in addition, that 336 animals that are coming through the contract, that's $336,000 that on average we are seeing the need of for each animal. So that is also, a little bit more than what the city is paying us currently. So having donors within the community, having donors that are coming specifically and directing gifts for animal protection is a big part of our funding there as well. And I know for locations like Goose Coopy, those are conversations that I in my new role, I've just been here since November, but I'm definitely interested in exploring further options with those rural communities as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
Yes, I thank you for your presentation. It was comprehensive. I would, can you name other communities in the north, let's say Williams Lake North, that have a level of service comparable to what is enjoyed here in Dawson Creek?
Yes, great question. And so it is interesting because I would say that most of our animal services contracts across BC are a kenneling contract, where that we are not having animal control officers that are employed at the BC SPCA. That is something unique to South East and Dawson Creek. And so for most of our other contracts, I think there's a few, Burnaby is one, Port Alberni is another, that have animal control officers employed by the BC SPCA as a part of their service contract. But most others are kenneling. So that is, animal bylaw officers that are employed by the city, enforcing the bylaw and bringing them to us for kenneling and care. So your situation in South Peace is a bit more unique. There's only a handful of others, yeah.
Yes, so basically for the north, we're unique.
Yes, you are.
So can you describe, let's say, to the city of Fort St. John, how does the sort of the services that you've described in your comprehensive presentation about the Dawson Creek operation, can you describe in an overview way what happens for animals in Fort St. John?
Yeah. So in Fort St. John, again, it's a kenneling contract. And so the city's bylaw officers are patrolling, responding to dispatches and bringing in animals to the center. When they're brought to the center, they're continuing with the same level of care. They're getting the examinations, the vaccines, the parasite control, and trying to reunite those animals with their owners. And that's on the BC SPCA side. The bylaw officers are who are bringing them in. For Fort St. John, the numbers are drastically smaller as well, with about 100 animals coming in from the contract. So, compared to the 336 that are coming in through Dawson Creek. So whether that is, it's interesting to compare because there are similar communities, right? But that's what it looks like in Fort St. John for the most part, yeah.
Yes, and of course, Fort St.Ġean's about double our size as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So can you describe, one last question, how do communities such as, anyone you want to pick, it seems now in the north, handle feral cats?
Great question. Feral cats are an ongoing issue in the north. There are trap, neuter, and release programs, and that is something that is, of course, for overpopulation control. Within the BC SPCA, feral cats do not meet our adoptability guidelines. So if they are over 15 weeks, we would do the trap, neuter, and release only if they have a permanent caretaker who's going to ensure that their quality of life as a feral cat is maintained and that they are spayed or neutered, and often chipped at that appointment so they can be tracked back to the colonies. But it is an ongoing issue, again, going back to that spay and neutering. Cats, their length of pregnancy is only about 60 days. And I think with warmer weather as well, in general, we're seeing that their heat cycles and their, kitten season is all year round now. It's not just in the summer months. We get kittens in consistently. So addressing that with spaying and neutering, I think, is a big undertaking that in the North, we're hoping to support, and through our community services, accessing more Indigenous communities in that way as well is a part of our ongoing work this year. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Emma.
Thanks, Councillor
Yeah.
Parslow. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Emma, for the presentation and for the detailed presentation. I just want to ask, how's the adoption trend with the past 5 years? Is that increasing or not?
No, I would say that it is maintaining. So those numbers, I can go back to that slide if you'd like. So these numbers, they are quite low within the community. And a big part of that is the need for having space for the stray animals that are coming in at such a high volume in Dawson Creek. So we have transfers that come out of our center every 2 weeks. So if animals are not adopted within those 2 weeks, we are transferring them out to other locations to make space for more stray animals to come in from the community. But, we have seen in areas like Prince Rupert, having more community involvement is increasing our adoptions there. They've quadrupled in the past year in Prince Rupert. So in my new role, that is something that, if there is an adoption base in Dawson Creek, I would love to be able to tap that more. Because at the same time, a lot of these animals are rural dogs that would probably thrive in a rural community like Dawson Creek versus going down to Vancouver and having a bit of shelter shock there. But yeah.
Yeah, coming from that question, because I just want to ask if there's an incentive if you adopt a pet or something, if you have something like that, incentivizing for people who would like to adopt pets.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's something that, every few months we have adoption discounts, and that's something that we can look at. And that has worked at Prince Rupert for increasing adoptions as well. And just being deeper in the community, having more relationships within the community has really helped there. But, all of the animals come spayed and neutered, having a lot of veterinary care. And then with an adoption, they're also getting pet insurance. They're getting a lifetime microchip registration. Overall, the package of adopting an animal is much more than how much you're paying to adopt an animal. So lifetime of love. But yes, that's something that we could definitely look at in Dawson Creek to incentivize that more.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Kemp?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Emma, for the presentation. I just wanted some clarification. In your presentation, you said when an animal is taken in at the SPCA, the owner has 4 days, is that correct, to locate their animal, and then after that, it's now part of the SPCA. Is that correct, or did I hear you correctly?
Yes, so that's within the bylaw. And so each community can adjust that. We have some communities that have a 7-day stray hold, but for Dawson Creek, it is 3 days if the animal has ID and we can connect quicker with the owner. If the animal does not have ID, it's 4 days.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Kemp. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I just have a follow-up, Emma, based on your conversation with Councillor Parslow with respect to Fort St. John's. You noted that they have approximately 100 intakes as part of the contract compared to our 330-something as part of our contract. How would you account for that disparity, as they do have a much larger population base? Is that a function of the amount of resources put into animal control, or is that more on the demand side as a result of just something cultural, something unanticipated? I'm just trying to, that seems like a pretty significant disparity for regions, given that one's got twice the population of the other.
Yeah, good question. And I can speak to the trends and patterns I see. You know, I think in Dawson Creek, we are seeing, more backyard breeding, more hoarding cases. So animal owners might have multiple animals in Fort St. John, maybe 1 or 2 animals per home. Dawson Creek, it's a different story. I think more people have more animals. And I also think that I believe there's 2 veterinary clinics in Fort St. John where there's just 1 in Dawson Creek. And so maybe they're accessing, spay and neuters, other services that way. And I'm sure that their bylaw officers are not completely focused on animal control as well, right? They have a broader workload than us having distinct animal control officers who are doing patrols and in the community seeing more of the issues. But from what I can see, it does seem like straying is a bigger problem in Dawson Creek compared to Fort St. John as well.
Okay, thank you. And I will just note, I have adopted a pet from the SPCA, and it's, as you noted, there's a spay and neuter involved in it, and insurance for the first X amount of days and all that stuff. And I think for people who are intent on being responsible pet owners, it's a great process. I've also gotten dogs adopted from chicken coops. And while we're fairly responsible in making sure they're subsequently chipped and spayed, there's a lot of people who are getting those dogs from chicken coops that aren't similarly inclined. So I think the note or the takeaway from this presentation is there is a significant culture of I don't know what you call it, but a small portion of people seem to be placing pets in a fairly fraught situation and costing us all some money in the process. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other questions? No? I had a couple questions. Most were answered by Council. Just a few that came up while those questions were in. So you said roughly with the 500 plus animals and at $1,000 an animal, your budget would be around the 530,000. We contribute probably 65 or 70% of that. So the other 200,000, is that you fundraise that much in the community?
Yeah, and how our fundraising model works is that donors from across the province, the funding goes to the greatest need for the most part. So a lot of the donors may be from outside of Dawson Creek, but it's all funded through our donors.
Okay.
The money is coming directly, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then another thing on your call-outs, so does the SPCA operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, or how does that, is there certain service hours that your team's available for call-outs?
Yes, so for our animal control officers, that's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but we do have staff 7 days a week that are on site for anything that's kind of outside of that. And our center managers are on call kind of 24/7 for any greater emergency outside of those working hours.
So like a stray dog on a Sunday afternoon, if you got a call about that, would somebody go get it?
We would probably work with the community member to see if they could bring that to us, just because we might, be working in shelter having more care needs met.
Yeah.
But I would say the community on the weekend is quite good at working with us. If they're finding a stray animal, they bring it directly to us on the weekends for the most part.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And then I did have some questions around Fort St. John too, but I think some of them maybe have to get somewhere else. But one question, do you know offhand, if their animal control bylaw is a contributing part to why the difference in numbers are? Like if their restrictions aren't as
Yes.
much as ours?
That's a great question as well. I think your bylaw is quite in-depth and in detailed in compared to Fort St. John as well. Theirs is a little bit more bare bones, where yours is quite robust. So that could be contributing to those numbers as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Emma, for joining us this morning and for all the information. It's definitely educational, and it's just good for us to see this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and if any other questions come up, please feel free to send me an email, or I can connect with Bill if you have any follow-up questions you'd like to discuss.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, I'm just going to vary the agenda and go to 2026 strategic priority chart. No updates today. Anything from you, Kevin? No, for any council? No. All right. Next, late items. I don't think there's any late items. 5, new councillor business. 5.1, we have memo from Councillor Parslow regarding cumulative health impacts assessment for the BC gas industry.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Parslow?
So last council meeting, we had a doctor present here, and we had people from the University of a lady from the University of Toronto, and a medical practitioner and researcher from Vancouver, and they provided us with lots of documents, were like as an attachment. One attachment that I thought was merited us our further attention was the resolution that was passed by the health officers of British Columbia. And that document is in your package again. We as a council, I think it's very clear that we take the need of our community members for quality health care very seriously. A lot of effort's gone into trying to attract and retain professionals in the health services. And we're very fortunate and looking forward to the opening of our hospital. So we take the provision of health services very seriously. I also take it very seriously that oil and gas are an important economic driver, and many of our relatives and people we know earn their living in the oil and gas industry. It's vital. One of the presenters last council meeting really captured my concerns. Whilst I recognize the economic importance of oil and gas, I do believe that we need to try to mitigate the health impacts as much as we can. And that is not really a responsibility that we can take on. It's more at the provincial level. And when the health officers of BC write such a document, there are serious concerns. It's interesting to note that in Kitimat and Squamish, maybe other areas where LNG exports were taking place, the fact that those LNG operations take over 18 months of flaring before they become somehow functional, there's a lot of concerns in our coastal communities as well. And so I think, just like Squamish City Councillor Squamish has, we need to show our support for getting some baseline data, and so that we can collectively as a province try to mitigate and advocate for the mitigation of health risks for the workers within the oil and gas industry and for the citizenry in general. We know that there will be a long-term additional fracking pipelines and gas plants developed, and I think we should support the need that health professionals have identified for a comprehensive independent assessment to understand the impacts on communities and the climate and also the Indigenous concerns. So the proposed motion I have, and this would be something that would be directed to the Premier, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of the Environment, that Council provide a letter of support in response to the Health Officers Council of BC's request for an independent, comprehensive health impacts assessment of the BC gas industry, including cumulative impacts from fracking, processing, transportation, export, and combustion emissions, and ensure the assessment is adequately resourced and informed by Indigenous context.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow, do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio? Discussion? Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to Councillor Parslow for his motion. So just reading this over the weekend and trying to wrap my head around it, because I'm trying to, I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiments expressed. I'm of a similar mind. Obviously, the oil and gas industry has been a vital part of the peace for decades and generations, and it's part of the culture, and it's part of how people pay their bills. But we do need to be, as the ability to assess impact becomes more refined and more sophisticated, we do need to make sure that we are being mindful of what costs are and what can be done to mitigate those costs, whether they are social costs around lifestyles that come along with industry, whether they're environmental, what have you. I'm just trying to figure out, number one, what is encompassed by a cumulative health impact assessment, how the provincial government's existing cumulative effects framework, which I did some reading up on, is insufficient to meet that. And it's me admitting my ignorance in that I don't have a full understanding of what the distinction is. And then I think one thing that folks here, and we need to be mindful of, are particularly sensitive to, is the perception that how people here in the South Peace earn a living is held to a different standard in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of regulators, than other industries, be it manufacturing, be it tourism, be it what have you, around certain impacts. So my concern, I guess, if any, with the motion or how this approach is taken is this a consistent standard that is being applied to all industrial activity, or are we carving out a special hurdle for natural gas to clear based on something else? And I think that's a fair point to raise, because that's been a perception for a while, and I don't want to play into that. So I'd be interested in getting some more information around that.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? I guess I have a few with this one. I mean, I can relate to a lot of what's been said. I guess just the one thing I look at is the Health Officers Council of BC resolution. So I was trying to look into what this organization is, and I have a little bit of troubles with it because I guess one, it's not a provincial agency, but the other is it's got 130 members, physician members, and there's 15,000 physicians in BC. So, I guess it would just be learning a little bit more about that. But I also, I guess it's a delicate thing too, right? Like obviously we're all live here and we want to protect the land and we want it as as healthy as we can for not just for us, but for generations to come. But, you know, I feel like being in this role, I've been a lot more educated on both sides of it. And I feel like industry has made a lot of adjustments over from years that, you know, I didn't realize how things are. But anything I see now, like they're just adapting and have changed so much in what they do to protect the health of communities and our land. So, yeah, it's you know, it's a balancing act too. And I appreciate the doctor that was in here and presented, and the ladies that are part of that team, because I met with them a couple of times, and there's a lot of information there and a lot of passion that they put into it. And, you know, I appreciate that as well. So, yeah, I have a bit of a tough time with this one. I mean, just because I haven't recognized or heard what the Health Officers Council of BC was up until this presentation. So just learning the numbers on it, yeah, it's just something I thought I would share. So, Councillor Parslow?
Yes, for information, the health officers are those groups of medical professionals whose role in the community with the various public health authorities is community health. Different mandate. They're very specific to that, right? So they're not surgeons. They're not into family practice, and they're dealing with community health.
Oh, okay.
And it's their role to, just like, you know, when we had the issues with the Rotary Lake, and its closure was through the community health officer employed by Northern Health, and so the literature is rich. And the thing is that you know, the history of the industrialization of our civilization is rich with examples of industry and its benefits and its impacts on people's health. I don't wish to cite a name particular local employers and the devastating health impact it's had, but they're there, and I think you must know them. If you don't, I'm very surprised. But in my role as school superintendent, I was made aware of a number. And it's, if you want the information, I'll share it with you privately, but I'm not going to share it publicly. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Other comments? Oh, all right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried 2 opposed, myself and Councillor Sudnick. All right, next. Oh, any other new councillor business? No? All right.
If you don't mind, I just want to say something.
Yeah,
that,
go ahead, Councillor Parslow.
Family Day. I really want to commend whatever the various city staff people did. I was just astounded to learn that on Family Day at the multiplex, there was over 1,200 people who used that facility on that one day. And there was quite a range of activities. But, you know, one of our collective goals was that the multiplex would be better used by community. And so when I heard from staff at the Kin Arena about what a success that was, I just was really pleased. And so I think there was a lot of programming done by city staff, and I think that's just great. And we need to keep doing more and more of those things. Give outlets in our long winters here to a range of activities. So thank you to the staff, and very pleased with the community response.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Their new Councillor Business? No? All right, next order of business, 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1, minutes of public consultation budget on February 9th, 2026 for adoption. Councillor Sudnick, second Councillor Kemp. Call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. 6.2, minutes of regular meeting of council on February 9th, 2026 for adoption. Councillor Apollonio, second. Councillor Sudnick. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and that's carried. I'll just take a 5-minute break here. So, business was 8 correspondence. 8.1, email from Chrissy Cosentine, Executive Assistant to the City Council, City of Kamloops, received on February 4th, 2026, regarding resolution for consideration, request for local government inclusion in provincial DRIPA and heritage policy reviews. Councillor Parslow.
Well, this correspondence addresses a very, very important aspect concerning the future of the province of British Columbia and the direction it will take. And I do know that from a good friend who has a business close to Lytton about the impact of the heritage legislation and archaeology on the return of a community of Lytton to some form of functionality, and how things were delayed in a very unreasonable way. So I think this is an important resolution, and what they're suggesting is that we consider presenting this to our local regional association. That's my. So it says, therefore, be resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Southern Interior Local Government Association, and it lists all of them. Okay, and so it's too bad Councillor MacDonald is not here. Because he might be able to shed some light if NCLA have received this and determined it. But I think we should possibly support this, that we ask the NCLGA to come up with some consensus in the North about this matter and the issues associated with it.
I think March 13th is our deadline with NCLGA, so if you wanted to make a motion on that.
Yes, I would move that this letter be placed on the agenda of the NCLGA for discussion and resolution.
Thanks. Second. Councillor Earl. Discussion. Councillor Earl.
And just for clarification, Your Worship, thank you. When Councillor Parslow says this letter, he's referring to an amended version of this letter, which is from Dawson Creek, not Kamloops, and directed to the analogous organizations. So, okay, good. Just to make sure we're clear. No, I agree with this. I think in my 7 and a bit years in public office, the province has made, and we as municipal government have made progress in reconciliation in the various aspects that fall under that umbrella. It's also become pretty clear that the municipalities of British Columbia have not been involved in those conversations to the extent they need to be. And I think, as was noted at UBCM last year by the outgoing president with respect to the Heritage Act, that is, I understand in the eyes of the courts, we are not a co-equal branch of government, but for all practical purposes, we are the front line of government. So when decisions like this are being made, those at the province need to have those conversations with us in mind and keep us in the loop so that we're not running into unpleasant surprises that frustrate our efforts for reconciliation or anything else. And I think this is perfectly reasonable.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Oops, I will call that again. Sorry, you weren't quick enough.
Mayor Demerit.
Sorry, am I messing you up by calling that again? Myself?
I said Mayor Demerit, not Senior Demerit. Senior Demerit.
You're publicly asking for my age, Councillor Parslow? I'll close this. It's carried. Next, 8.2, we have a letter from Norman Brimcombe, resident of Dawson Creek, received on February 10th, 2026, regarding continued BC Transit service. Councillor Parslow?
Move to receive it for information.
Second, Councillor Earl. Discussion on receiving for information. No. I just want to thank Norman actually for sending his letter, but also I noticed in the last while we've been getting a lot more letters from residents, so I think it's a good thing, and I just want to thank all of them for submitting them. They're good for us and they help educate us. So so thank you. I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, we have email from Sean Cairns, resident of Dawson Creek, received on February 11th, 2026, regarding municipal advocacy for universal mental health care. Councillor Parslow?
Well, I really appreciated this letter. Is just the mosaic of absences of service here at the professional level impacts, I think, isolated northern communities far more than urban areas. The city has a good track record of trying to get the improved health care services to our region and to this community. I think we should acknowledge this letter and thank the writer for the submission. And he's got 3 requested actions there. And I think we should act on all 3 as best we can.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio? So just to clarify, the motion is to thank John for his input and letter, and that we will continue to advocate for those requested actions. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Earl?
Okay, I was going to ask if Councillor Parslow was alluding to referring these to NCLGA, perhaps, for some sort of policy development as part of the journey to UBCM eventually, as I'd imagine this kind of advocacy would probably be most effective, as noted, if done regionally and collectively.
I think
Push your button.
I think that's a good suggestion. I think these actions maybe could be put forward at the NCLGA to get a regional response on. Yeah, we carry more weight.
Can we friendly amend that to the motion? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
That was a happy nod.
Councillor Earl?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best place to start. And I appreciate the sentiments expressed by Sean in here, knowing what a Herculean effort we have to put in just to see a marginal improvement in any provision of healthcare in the region. This seems like a pretty big lift to we struggle to find adequate healthcare as currently provided, let alone expanding the service. But as noted in the letter, recent events have placed, I think, a magnifying glass on the issue of mental health and how we provide for that here in the north. So we should pursue that in accordance.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, we have email, 8.4, we have email from John Vetter, President, South Peace District Crime Prevention Association, received on February 17th, 2026, regarding invitation to sponsor and participate in the SPCA AGM and workshop held on April 24th, 2026. So there's two requests here. One is for a sponsorship package, which if council's fine with it, if somebody wants to make a motion, I'd be willing to, I think, like sponsoring the gold sponsorship package out of ECDEV would make sense, but it's just my thoughts. I think this is a very good initiative and a great group. So that helps with a lot of the health and safety in our communities. So and then it is asking for myself to be present and welcome it, but I'm away. So I believe Councillor Parslow is the acting mayor at that time. So I'm sure I think he's already offered his services for the day, but if he hasn't, and somebody would like to make that motion. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that we sponsor the AGM and workshop session, gold package to be funded from the Economic Development Fund, and that Councillor Parslow, in his capacity as acting mayor, be present for the event to represent the city.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Sednick. Any discussion? I did notice there's 4 seats that come with that. So I guess if there's other council that are interested, but if not, like the city team or either of the next door.
Yeah, I guess my question to that would be if we do have a few extra entries to maybe coordinate with John to make sure that from our end, whoever needs to be there, and if we can use a couple of those spots. Because, we've talked about the value of collaboration among various stakeholders, and I think this is a piece of low-hanging fruit that's being presented to us.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Any other discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 8.5, we have an email from Jason Bourne, marketing consultant, Moose Media, February 17th, 2026, received a request for sponsorship for South Peace People's Choice Awards. Councillor Earl.
Move we receive for information.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Second. Councillor Sednick. Any discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next 9 reports. We have 9.1 report number 26-022 from the city planner regarding temporary use permit TUP 26-01, 1636 99 Avenue Fitness Center. Councillor Sednick.
Your Worship, I'll move recommendation, report number 26-022 from the city planner regarding the temporary use permit TUP 26-01 at 1636 99th Avenue Fitness Center be received. Further, the temporary use permit TUP 2601 for 1636 99th Avenue Fitness Center be approved to allow for the use of a fitness center at 1636 99th Avenue for a period of 3 years.
Thank you, Councillor Sednick. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Discussion. Call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 9.2, we have report number 26-026 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2025 return on investments. Councillor Parslow.
I move that report number 26-026 from the CFO, read 2024 return on investments received for information.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Second, Councillor Earl. Comments? I know it's on information, but I just wanted to thank Kevin, Melissa, and your team for this report. But it's pretty phenomenal to see, and you've done a great job. I know there's just so many things, but to get a 4.5% return, I think it was on our investments, and how much it's just helped in our financial capacity. So just good job. So, and thank you. All right, anything else? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. 9.3, report number 26-027 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 budget consultation feedback. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Recommendation that report number 26-027 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2026 budget consultation be received for discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Apollonio. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Call that to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Any comments, discussion? No. I want to just add a comment to this. I think it's, we've talked about for years that, the budget's the single, we haven't talked about that. We know it's the single biggest thing that we go through in a year, this council and the whole city team. So it's a big thing, and it's a big process. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And I know since my time sitting here at 5 years, we haven't had a lot of public consultation or comments. So that was something that this city team has just changed a bit, and we've been going out to the community. So I just want to thank the leadership at the city and council as well for just changing the approach on it a little bit and getting out to the community with the budget consultation. I think it's been great. And also to, Melissa, Kevin, it's not in their job descriptions, I don't think. Well, maybe it is actually in Kevin's, but to go out there and to put themselves out there, just, in a different environment, really. I mean, we had one at that we did this year at the Chamber of Commerce, and there was 30 plus people there. We've also did one at the Senior Hall. I want to thank Councillor McDonald. He was there because I was unable to attend. Where there was 100 people. So it's just a lot different than we've done in the past. We started it last year a little bit. Melissa did it with myself. We did it at quite a few different roundtables and Rotary and stuff. So it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to recognize it. I think it's thinking a little bit differently, and it's getting out there in front of people and engaging. So I just want to, truly thank you, because I know it's not something you probably sign up for. And but yeah, it's just appreciative to see it and have you guys out there with us. So thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, I'd like to do some mining here. These key themes are just exactly what practicality they are. So, first of all, passing along any tax rate increases to leaseholders. Presumably, that's people who hold a lease with the city for the use of some facility. And how many of those do we have? That's my first question.
Commercial landlords.
I'll let Melissa answer.
So through your worship to Councillor Parslow, that specific comment was received during our consultation with the Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce, and it was in reference to commercially owned space that is leased to other businesses. It wasn't related to anything in regards to city owned or city leased.
Yeah.
If that was.
So it had nothing really to do with our tax rate. They're saying that the private owners should pass it on to leaseholders. Is that right?
So through your worship to Councillor Parslow, it was made in reference to that as their tax rate goes up, that then they are forced to pass on that increase to the small business owner that potentially is renting their space.
Puts pressure on the small businesses is what they're referring to. Most commercial leases,
So it really is nothing to do with what actions we would take. It's so, okay, fine. I was trying to understand it from the point of view of city council, right? Because I couldn't think of anyone who we'd have a... So determining appropriate service levels relative to taxation, what does that mean?
So through your worship to Councillor Parslow, what I was meaning there was discussions on as you increase service levels, your tax rate increases.
Yeah.
But as you're trying to achieve a reasonable taxation or what you feel that is, you have to match your service levels. So just the balance that council has on your tax rates versus your service levels. And those, as one goes up, the other goes up. But if you want to decrease one, you usually need to decrease the other as well. So it was just council is deciding each decision that you're faced with, whether if you want to increase something, is it going to make your tax rate too high that then makes your city not be affordable to live in? So the appropriate balance between those two is what I was meaning and what was kind of discussed at the chamber.
Thanks, Melissa. Maybe I can just clarify too. I don't know, maybe you do know this, Councillor Parslow, but those bullet points that you're going over, those are questions that were asked to us. So they're not questions we put out there.
No.
They were some of the questions that came up afterwards, and we had open discussion around all of them, so. If that clarifies. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Yeah. All right. Anything else? No? All right. Next 10 bylaws, 10.1, we have report number 26-024 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding fees and charges amendment bylaw number 4622, 2026 for consideration of adoption. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 26-024 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding fees and charges amendment bylaw number 4622, 2026 be received. Further, that council adopt fees and charges amendment bylaw number 4622, 2026, which proposes updates to Schedule M by introducing a graduated fee for repeated intruder alarms deemed false upon RCMP attendance aligned with existing false fire alarm fees.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Apollonio. Discussion. Councillor Sudnick?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. That's carried. Next, 10.2, report number 26-035 from the Director of Development Services regarding development cost charge bylaw number 4623, 2026 to rescind third reading. Councillor Sudnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move recommendation report number 26-035 from the Director of Development Services regarding the development cost charge bylaw number 4623, 2026 be received. Further, the council rescind third reading of development cost charge bylaw number 4623, 2026 and give third reading as amended to include triplex and fourplex units in Schedule A.
Thanks, Councillor Sudnick. Second, Councillor Kemp. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call this motion to vote. Thank you. Thought I heard his voice. Vote is closed, and that's carried. Next, 11.1 mayor's, or 11 mayor's business, 11.1 mayor's updates. I attended the Growing the North conference last week in Grand Prairie. I was there for a day and a half with Councillor Sudnick and Councillor McDonald, who were there for the whole conference. So, yeah, great conference. The parts that I was part of were very good, educational, building continuing to build the relationships with our neighbors was, definitely a great thing. And also having some time there with Councillor Sudnick and Councillor McDonald was great as well. And as well, the city team. So we had Melissa there with a few, and the Chamber of Commerce there. So I just want to thank them, and Melissa from Tourism as well. So yeah, it was good. Yeah, I mean, if Councillor Sudnick wanted to add anything to it, okay. We also attended a Community Rail Advocacy Alliance there as well. That was something that we'll probably get to council here, so you'll see more about it. But it's just something the regional district has a seat at that table. So they just kind of had a brief meeting there, what they're about, and it's really just about rail advocacy in all of Western Northern Canada. And yeah, it was good to be part of. Councillor Sudnick and McDonald joined me for it. So, it was a brief meeting, but just kind of a brief overview of what they offer and what they do. Next, the fire truck push-in ceremony. I was away for this, but I did want to just mention it on here. So it's tradition. I don't know the whole details. I did see the fire chief did share that with me, but I forget all the details. But it's tradition with new fire trucks coming that they push them into the hall. So I was honored to be asked to be part of the ceremony. So thank you to them. I did want to just mention that this fire truck comes with the partnership that we have with the regional district in the fire protection area around the city of Dawson Creek. So this is part of their requisition that funded this truck. So I think it just shows a great partnership there with the regional district, and also, just how it works for both of us. I just wanted to recognize that and share that. I had a call with Wild Wolves of Canada Motorcycle Charity. So they're actually coming to council in the near future as a delegation, so I won't get too much into it. Basically, it's two gentlemen that, have had, I'll let them share their story because it's pretty inspirational, so I won't get too much into it. But I had a great call with them. At the end of the day, they're the gentleman I spoke to, just a great, inspiring gentleman who is wanting to give back in communities. So they're organizing a big motorcycle charity run, bringing food to those that are in need of it. So I can share more with you, but I'll wait till he comes here and presents, because I'll let him share his story. I had numerous community and business conversations offhand. None that really stick out right now. So, and then Family Day. Councillor Parslow already touched on it. So I just want to once again touch on just a thank you to the city team. I know in the past, this doesn't just go for family days, but a lot of the holidays, all of our facilities were closed. So I think there's been a new direction that's been taken over the last 2 or 3 years, I believe, and where these facilities are open, and we're seeing great use on most of those holiday days. But this one specifically, 1,200 people joining in at the multiplex is just phenomenal. But I know it goes far past the city team too. There's a lot of donors and organizations, businesses, community members that donate and volunteer to make that all possible. So I don't have the list of all of them, so I don't want to name them off because I will definitely miss some, but just a huge thank you to all of them. And then, a thank you to the city team down there that was working that day, but also to the 1,200 plus people that attended it. Just a great thing to see for our region. So excellent. 11.2 delegation requests, they're coming later, so I'll vary the agenda and go to 12. Before I vary the agenda, any questions? No? All right, I'll vary the agenda, go to 12, Chief Administrative Officer operational updates.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a couple quick updates. One related to water. So we have chosen not to renew the state of local emergency. So that's a good thing. That decision was made based on the amount of water that we have stored. So currently we're over 170 days in storage, so that's good. We know that's going to get us into early summer. And so we're counting on the stuff you see outside today and also maybe some spring rains. And so, but if something changes, we can still go down the path of working with emergency management and implementing our emergency solution there of overland pumping. But so we've chosen not to renew that. We're continuing to pump. As of Friday, I had an update. Flows are still okay in the river, and we're able to pump about 6,000 cubes a day. So that's matching demand approximately. So it's all good news. So we hope we have a good spring goes along with that. And then just on the snow that we're seeing, so it's been a tale of a few months. December we had exceptional snow. January we had exceptionally warm weather where it melted and we were left with very little and ice, and now we're back to some more snowfall. Crews are working on priorities. We're looking that we'll probably grab a few contractors to assist. And then probably start downtown won't be until the weekend. And we'll get to that. So I think after today, things are supposed to warm up for a couple of days, and I think minimal snowfall for the next week. So we'll get in the process of catching up. Yeah, so any questions?
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Do you want the questions? Councillor Parslow.
I'm not going to ask any questions. Water. The restrictions on water usage, right? Stage 3,
Three,
right?
yeah.
Is there any need to have that still in place?
So 3, Worship, I would say yes, because I would say in the short term, yes. We need to see how things respond with the river. And I think just we're being overly cautious to make sure we maintain our reservoirs and we don't exceed demand and what we're able to pump. So the risk could be that we take those restrictions off and then we find ourselves in a deficit and we are using more than we're able to pump. So that would then, of course, lessen our storage. But yeah, it just all hinges on the weather. So could we? Yes, it'll lessen how many days of storage we have. But we haven't as of yet. But something that we meet
So
on
can
a
you
regular
refresh
basis.
my memory? What's the difference between stage 2 and stage 3?
Stage 3 is stage 3 when we implement the industrial. It's been a while since I looked at it.
Industry for non-potable uses.
Yeah.
I thought I'm surprised because you've lived this
I
water
know.
issue for months,
Yeah,
Kevin.
I know.
No, I'm just wondering. I know that going from like stage 3 to stage 4, I think it's a difference of 50 cubes,
That's correct.
right? So it was not insignificant. But I just wondered what the impact is on any businesses with stage 2 to stage 3.
Yeah, so let me just...
Doesn't
refresh
matter.
it.
I mean, just a thought of it. I mean, the water situation, I think, is going to be very dynamic. What I'm hearing is that to go now would be, if we had some situation, we'd need to flop back to it, and then it's probably not worthwhile making any changes.
Yeah.
But if it has significant impact for some sector of our community, council should know what that is. Because that's so stage 2 to stage 3. What's the difference? But I don't need to look it up now. But I'd be interested in knowing. The second question is snow removal.
Yes.
What's the projection of how much over our budget we will be for snow removal by the end of, let's say, winter, which I'm going to say by the end of March. Is there a projection?
So the good news is we're in a new fiscal. So
Sorry, I missed
we're in a
that.
new fiscal year as of January. So we had expended our budget and then some at the end of 25 because December was such a big month for snow. So we're in a new budget year. So I sure hope we don't run out of budget before we get to next fall. We should be in an adequate position for the spring.
So for the fiscal year that ended, what percentage were we over?
Well, just give us 1 second. I see Melissa, scrolling away there.
And I guess it'd be interesting for future meetings to
Yeah.
know. But again, I was surprised how much snow had fallen last night, right? So immediately thought about the budget. We're not thinking that, yes, we're in a new fiscal year for ourselves here, but be interested. It might mean that our snow removal budget is shot by the end of March. Could be.
And if we can predict the weather until the end of March, you're absolutely right. We could be, and that will remain to be seen. I believe it was in December that I brought that update to council that we'd spent.
430, wasn't it, or 450?
You did mention
Yeah.
the figure.
Yeah, it was a large number.
Yeah.
So we'll pull those two answers, and I'll get them to you before the end of the day. Oh, Melissa might have some.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess this is just a question of curiosity with respect to, and we've had kind of conversations in the past, and if there's any kind of best practices or calculation that exists within the field of civil engineering with respect to costs associated with the increasingly rapid kind of freeze-thaw cycle that's increasingly happening here. And because I know obviously we've noted the impact on potholes, for instance, and how much we have to spend mitigating that when we have this repeated kind of weathering that previously we didn't see. And I'd be curious to know, as governments and civil institutions kind of grapple with the costs associated with the changing climate. I mean, not to say that it's potholes is the only thing, obviously pipes breaking and bursting as things expand and contract. But I'd be curious to know if within the discipline of civil engineering there was kind of a best practices or a rule of thumb similar to an accountant's depreciation or what have you.
Yeah, so through your worship, I suspect that there have been some papers written on that along the lines of climate change and the impacts to infrastructure. I mean, we're realizing it, we're seeing it. Every time we have those melt cycles, you're correct, you get water on the road, you've got the opportunity for potholes to occur, and they do. And so there's greater wear and tear. And of course, the potholes are the most visible. But again, the challenges that we see operationally is these whiplash events where we go from cold and snowy to warm and water flowing is also on the drainage aspect. You have
Sand.
Yeah, we've got more salt and sand usage because of those going from snow to ice and back. And so there's a number of impacts, and we're seeing it for sure.
Okay.
As opposed to if it just stayed -10 all winter and then we had one melt.
Yeah, I mean, and just as this becomes, more common, I think there's been very few winters since I've been on council that we've had a standard, I guess what you call an orderly winter. It's pretty erratic these days, and I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on how do we quantify that moving forward, and not only build it into our budget, but as we engage in advocacy, as we, plan for the future and future infrastructure needs, how do you erosion-proof roads and buildings, right?
Yeah, and the challenges is going away from a typical Chinook that we've all experienced, decades ago, to where it's extended periods of +8 and +10 degrees in
For
January.
2 or 3 weeks in January, which is
quite different.
yes,
Yes,
we're in the
and-
subarctic. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to happen. Okay, yeah, I mean, just food for thought if something comes across your desk or Devin's desk.
Yeah, of interest.
It's, I think, something we ourselves and future councils and future municipal governments everywhere are going to have to get more of a handle on. So just a thought.
You bet.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Melissa?
Through your worship to council in regards to the budget for snow removal. And I just was pulling snow removal and snow plowing contracts. We don't break down the overtime between snow plowing and, I don't know, crack sealing or whatever it is. But for 2025, the budget was over by 213,000. But in 2024, it was actually over by 151 as well. 2023, we were under 60,000. But often when we're finalizing our budgets and looking, we don't have those late winter invoices yet close to year end in December. So we're basing our estimate on almost the winters before. So that's probably why we were over in 2024, but didn't adjust in 2025 because we didn't have those numbers yet. So when we made 2026, I know we take an average, and so we'll see, but that's where the numbers are for that.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Oh, he's got another one.
Well,
Councillor Parslow?
staff put up the water restrictions there, and I just draw your attention to 2F. The rest are seasonal, but that one, 2F, is not seasonal.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I can see some people maybe getting hold of you about that.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, next, 13, diary, nothing in the diary. 14, consent calendar. Anybody want to lift anything? Get a motion to accept. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor Sudnick. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Any media questions? No media here. All right, I'm just gonna we'll take a 10-minute break and then come back when our delegation's here. Order. Next order of business is we have Staff Sergeant Hughes with Dawson Creek RCMP in attendance regarding the Detachment Resource Report for December 2025 and January 2026. So good morning and welcome. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Your Worship. Thank you for having me. We will get right to it. So I wasn't here for January to present December. December obviously has the best picture year to date because it's the longest time span. As soon as we get into January stats, which we'll get into here in a sec, we get back into only year to date. So it's 1 month comparison to 1 month comparison rather than 12 to 12. Staffing didn't change much for December or really for January. We've got a couple of members working light duties. They're both working 40 hours a week, so full-time hours, just not operational. We have one member off duty injured. He actually started back today for a graduated return to work, administrative duties only. We had one member arrive from depot in November, and then one arrived in January 22nd, he came. We have 2 frontline constable positions are vacant and 1 GIS position vacant. That's now, for the January, I'll skip over that. It's now 3 constables on the front line, and GI will be full again here soon. And the member that was off paternity leave, he was one of our supervisors, so we were very grateful to have him back. He came back January 14th. So our year-to-date calls for service for the year of 2025 was a total of 8,796 call for service, which is up 2%. For the same period, calendar year 2024. And all these numbers, everybody has the numbers that they can follow along. The big piece is it's still about an 80-20 split, 80%, 20% between rural and the city. And that's where our budget lines, the municipal budget line and the provincial budget line, that's where they split. So those numbers are right in line with resourcing and who pays for what, according to the file load. So our theft of vehicle was down 3%. A big thing with the theft of vehicle, with the theft and theft from vehicle. So the theft from vehicle was way up, but the theft of vehicle, Rural Crime Watch, Southeast Crime Prevention Society did a big push in December, and we only had, I think there was 3 for all of December, 3 stolen vehicles. And typically we see stolen vehicles really spike hard when the weather gets cold, and I will be able to speak to that here with the next report. But having 3 in December with that big push of lockout auto crime and having Rural Crime Watch and COPS and them in the mall parking lots and interacting with people and just spreading that message. There was on the Oventive board, they had a messaging up, so it really helped a lot because people like to leave their vehicles running when it's cold. If you don't have auto start, they go out and start their vehicles, go back in their house, and those opportunistic thieves will walk along or drive along in another stolen vehicle and take those vehicles for a joyride. We are seeing a trend that shows itself here in the next stats where vehicles from Grand Prairie are being stolen there and dumped here, and then our vehicles are being stolen here and dumped in Grand Prairie and recovered there. Our theft from vehicle is up 68%, which is we don't like to see that. Vehicles being left open. We have a couple of people that are in town that are trying to support their habits, and the welfare social services amount of money doesn't appear to be supporting that. So those people are a few small percentage of people is driving that increase by a lot. Breaking into residence is down 10%, but businesses is up 58%. There was 10 in December, which is a huge number. Our assaults, all assaults combined, an increase of 5.4%. Those numbers should decline quite rapidly here for 2026 with all of the people that we have in jail. Most of our, the term heavy hitter comes to my mind. I probably shouldn't use that term, but let's be real, and that's what they are. They're horribly violent people that prey on fear and seem to like doing that in our community. So we're very excited, very happy to have those people in jail. And they target one another. They target people within their own groups. There is an organized crime gang element to the people that we have in jail. So to have them behind some bars, and then I'll use this opportunity to thank North District Major Crime for the arrest, the first-degree murder, three first-degree murder charges that were laid here in recent history. Just to get an idea, Crown will sometimes usually plead things down. We usually start out with a manslaughter or second-degree murder on charges like this. So to have our North District Major Crime section put the work that they did into charging these 3 to get charges secured on 3 individuals for first-degree murder is just, it's nothing other than a massive undertaking. The amount of human resources hours that went into that, actual members investigating, following up, interviewing, transcribing, reporting to Crown Counsel, disclosure, exhibit handling, it is just a massive undertaking. There is no way possible that Dawson Creek Detachment could even come close to an undertaking like that. So I can't thank our resources that we have in North District enough. They deserve the credit on this file. Dawson Creek, of course, we are the first responders. When these calls come in, we're responding to them in the first instance. North District Major Crime, they are here in a heartbeat. And they are just relentless on the investigative steps that need to be taken. So a huge win for the community, a huge win for the victims of these crimes. This one that we're talking about is single victim by the criminal code, but the victimization goes out into the community. It's not just the one person, the victim of the homicide, it's their families, it's the community, it's our citizens, the fear that gets put into people. So very happy with that. Moving along, our sex offenses, again, said it before, say it again, it's all sexually related, anything with a sexual component, from 37 to 42, so not a huge increase. Some of those files are historic files, excuse me, are drug possession, trafficking. I like to see this go up. I don't like to see it happening, but I like to see this number go up. It means that we are enforcing and we are going after the people that are selling, making, trafficking drugs. So we're going to say we need that number to go up before it can go down. We need to send the message that you're not going to get away with it if you continue to do this in Dawson Creek and the Peace region, whether it be Fort St. John or Tumbler or Chetwynd or Prince George or anything. Our impaired driving numbers are up again. I've said this for the last few presentations that I've done. As we see that impaired driving number go up, we see our collisions go down. So our collisions are down 16%, while the impaired driving charges are up 28%. So it's 30. The increase is only 30 files in the entire year. But the drop in motor vehicle collisions is I'm not a mathematician, but it's a bigger drop. That 16% is of a bigger number. Our theft and shoplifting is up 20%. Some of this is driven by reports that come in of theft, and the bigger corporations, I won't name any of them, but the bigger corporations typically don't want to send anybody to court, so they're not proceeding with charges. So the request when we go is, our company policy is to call you guys, call the RCMP when there's a theft, but we don't want charges. We don't want the stuff back, or we know who the person was, and we're not going to participate with charges. So it takes this number, and obviously it's going to increase because there's no consequence for the person. So we, as the police, we cannot charge somebody with an offense when we don't have a participating victim. So somebody has to go from that company to court and say, this was our property. The person didn't have authorization to take it. And then a whole bunch of other pieces that have to go in along with court. But without that cooperation from the victim or their representative, those don't come to charge. And unfortunately, it sends a message to people that they can just continue because there's no consequence. Our mental health files, I've changed it to blue on the reporting because it's not an offense to be suffering from mental health, as I did with unspecified assistance. So there's an increase of 7%. As you can see, 746 files that were related to mental health. Again, these are resource-heavy files. And then the unspecified assistance files is a decrease of 16%. We'd like these files to continue. We try and send the messaging out to the public that, please call things in if you see something suspicious, whether it's a person or a vehicle. We may not always be able to do something immediately, depending on what else is going on in the city or outside the city, but we do appreciate those calls. It gives us a good idea of target areas, and it also helps us interact with some of the people that are walking down back alleys at 2 o'clock in the morning with a flashlight looking into backyards. And while that's not illegal, we do like to interact with those people and let them know that we're watching. Our files for unhoused, involving our unhoused population is 184 to date. There was 8 in December. Our method for tracking that is there is some holes in it, for lack of a better term. This is an in-house internal system that we don't actually have universal scoring codes for unhoused. So we use kind of like a hashtag in the file and then search for that text. So I would think that was probably a little bit higher, but it may not be. Citizens on Patrol continue to do amazing work. Last year, I think they did just under 10,000 kilometers of patrols. So thank you to that group very much. Our violence suppression efforts continue with overtime dedicated to those people. And some of that intel for these bigger files comes from those shifts. So it's not just going out and arresting people and checking curfews. There's lots of intel that comes from those. Moving on to our January report. I won't go through staffing. It's pretty much the same. And then we did cover off who's come and gone. One thing that I changed, and this was mostly for Councillor Parslow, because he likes to have numbers.
Yes.
Yes. So one thing I changed for this year is I've gone to the last 4 years. So the increase decrease will show the difference from 25 to 26 year to dates. But I started putting in 20, 23, 24, 25, and 26, just so we can have a look. And theft of vehicles is the first one is a great example of this. So while we show a 30% increase, that's from 13 to 13 from 10. 2023, we only had 2 in January, and 2024, we had 12. So to go from 12 to 10 to 13, that's a fairly flat curve. If I ever get good with Excel spreadsheets, maybe I'll put a graph on the right side of it, but I'm not there yet. So hopefully that's valuable. I'll be looking for some feedback after to see if you think that that's valuable or not. Hopefully it is. There's more red on here than I would like. Again, theft from vehicle, going back 4 years, we had 4, 3, 4, and then this year there was 10 in January. If I could put a public message out, just make sure you lock your vehicles. Don't leave valuables in your vehicles. There was a bunch of vehicles hit in January in the mall parking lot that spiked this number. I think maybe 4 or 5 of these was one day, one event of somebody going through and taking things out of vehicles that were in the Dawson Creek Mall. But that shows 150% increase from over 2025. Our break-in enters to residents, and we can see that this is cyclical. 1 in 2023, and then 7, 3, and 7 for this year. So that's showing that 133% increase is right on par with 2024. Our break-in enter businesses shows an increase of 700%, which is horrible. However, 2023 was 12, and then we had 6 in 2024. 2025 was an unusually low year with only 1. And this is why I wanted to have a bigger picture and go back a few years so we can see how things are trending and how the cycle of these offenses go. Our assault files are up to 20. I wish that I had a better answer for why that's up to 20. I can say that most of our files, if not all of our assault files, are people that are known to each other. CJDC did a 3-part piece in the news, and one of the things was is Dawson Creek a safe place to live? And I believe that it is a safe place to live. These assault files they're people that know each other. People are not walking down Alaska Ave or 8th at 11 o'clock at night and getting mugged. I'm not going to say that it would never happen here or could never happen, because as soon as you let your guard down or stop being diligent and taking steps to protect yourself, that's when the worst can happen. But it doesn't happen here. People are not getting mugged walking down the street. Kids are not getting mugged going to school. Nobody's stealing kids' school money and buying drugs with it. It just doesn't happen. Our sexual offenses combined is decrease of 60%. We like to see that, obviously. Drug possession decrease of 100%. Our GIS section that drives most of this was down to 1 person. We had to take people off that section and put them onto the watch to supplement frontline policing because of some staffing issues that we had. So that section is now on the rise again and growing, and for March, April should be back to full strength. Impaired driving is down 57%, down to 6. Motor vehicle collisions is down to 37, and you can see 33, 39, 38, and 37 for the years respective.
The only consistent one.
Our thefts, the increase of 13% is an increase of 4 from past years, and you can see just a steady incline from 21, 26, 30, and 34. So we need, from a community point of view and a policing point of view and a court point of view, to have the consequences upheld for these people that are doing this type of crime. Our mental health is sitting. The curve is pretty flat there, 38 for 2023, and then 51, 51, and 52. Our unspecified assistance is up from 45 in 2020 5 to 74 for this year, and our unhoused community. So we just started that last January we started that, so there won't be stats for 2023 and 2024, obviously. But we are sitting at 13 for this year, which is a decrease of 41%. And then no changes over year to date. It's the Dawson Creek Citizens on Patrol. Our relationship with CTA continues. That's the Citizens Take Action groups, remains strong. And, you know, a shout out to that group and all of the groups and our general citizens that are calling things in. These groups, the people, whether it's mayor, council, or fire, or ambulance, that are they are our eyes and ears. There's 31 members at full strength in Dawson Creek on the RCMP side. We're running 27 bodies right now, minus the 2 soft, so 25 of the 31. We can't be everywhere. We can't see everything. So we rely heavily on intelligence from the public, and just a big thank you to everybody that calls anything in when something doesn't look right. Those spidey senses that people have and the hairs that stand up on your back of your neck when something doesn't look right, calling us, that's what gets us in there, puts us into the communities, puts us driving down the back alleys, driving through school zones, that type of thing. I'm going to assume there's going to be some questions about Tumbler Ridge. There's not a lot that I can speak of just yet. Major Crime has the investigation. For those that don't know, my brother is the commander down in Tumbler Ridge, so it's very close to home for me. So I'll do my best to answer some questions, but it's a little emotional topic for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll open up to council first for questions here. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Staff Sergeant. I don't have any questions as it relates to Tumbler Ridge, other than to obviously convey my gratitude to all the first responders who showed up and did their best to help in a nightmare situation. So, that investigation will take its course as needed, and we'll all hopefully gain some insight from it as circumstances allow. Just with respect to the information you've presented here, the first thing having to do with, do you get, because I know the online reporting for people who are, what do you call it, I guess, unspecified assistance files, what is the utilization rate for that? Like, what percentage of calls or files created are a result of people reporting online? Because I know that is available, and I know in the public's mind, you know, if you don't immediately report it by phone, it's something that falls by the wayside and they don't do. And in the interest of encouraging them to be, you know, not let things slide and be proactive about communicating with you and helping you have more information available. Are you aware of what the public's utilization of that is? And I guess what we can do to help raise awareness that is an option for people who maybe, you know, they see something and they don't phone right away, but a couple hours later they want to put something in, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Through your worship, I don't have the stats with me today. I can actually add that in pretty easily to see what.
Well, it doesn't need to be a
how many
monthly
files?
thing. You know.
Yeah, there might be value to that, having that show and then tracking and seeing how we're going. A media release might be an easy way to go.
Similarly with the, looking at the campaign that was done with the South Peace Crime Prevention Association, there might be worthwhile creating a couple assets and putting them up that you can report suspicious incidents via this online link, and just to raise public awareness. Because I know when I have conversations with the public, oftentimes, you know, they saw something or they know something or blah, 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 but I don't know if it's worth phoning someone and getting, but it's like, well, this is a very easy way, and whether or not anything comes of it, if it does feed into another investigation, they've got that information available, right? And that's
it's a fantastic tool.
So
one of the things with online reporting is there's some questions that go through, and there typically isn't a police response. It's one of the questions that if you need a response from a police officer, or you need a meeting or to speak with a police officer, then please call the non-emergency, and if it's emergency, call 911. But it definitely could not hurt at all to get some public messaging out. We don't, the RCMP in Dawson Creek, we don't have a Facebook page or anything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, so.
Yeah, so it might be worth a
Partnering
conversation
with the city for something like that would be
crime
fantastic.
prevention or us or what have
And
you.
I will get those numbers added into our reporting structure.
Okay, yeah, I'm not trying to make work for you. I was just curious.
It makes work for somebody else.
Second thing, and with respect to the stats provided from June, I think the 4-year snapshot is nice because it gives us, an idea of what the variability is on any given year. But I also think we need to be increasingly aware that in these winter months, the variability that arises from anomalous spikes in temperature, like I'm sure a lot of the crimes of opportunity that took place during January, if you were to parse them out over that 10-day period where we had 8-degree temperature versus when we had minus 30 temperature, you'd find, people who are looking to get into trouble have a lot more opportunity to do it when it's 8 degrees as opposed to minus 30.
Correct.
So, and then thirdly, just obviously congratulations on the 3 murder 1 charges you alluded to earlier, and commend you and the North Unit on putting that together. I know the last couple of years has been tremendously difficult for all of us, not only for the people who were affected by violent crime, but, as public servants. You get scrutinized for things that necessarily aren't within your control, and how it impacts not just the victims immediately, but the blast radius of these violent events kind of encompasses the whole community. And I know you guys, as the front line of the criminal justice system, usually fall most under the lens. But so yeah, congratulations on that. And as you noted, hoping Crown holds up their end and gets us across the finish line.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow?
So what are your reflections on this practice that you mentioned in your report of companies not pressing charges? Why would a company not do that? And what message does that, I'm just thinking about that, what message does that send to other companies?
Thank you for the question.
I know you're skilled in so many things. Sociology is one of them. I know to be. So this is a sociological question. What's your reflections on that phenomenon?
Well, thank you, Councillor Parslow, and through your worship, I would love to answer that question. I think it's a fairly well-known fact that companies, businesses, corporations have certain margins built into their profit margin to account for loss, which is why Costco, things are fairly cheap at Costco. It's very hard to steal something from Costco. People talk about how Costco can possibly have this crazy return policy. I believe it's because they don't have to deal with all the theft. But our Walmarts, our Safeways, our Canadian Tires, our medium-sized food chains, there's a certain margin built in for loss prevention. I don't know if there's enough margin built in to have employees gone for a day and pay them or not, to have them at trial, at criminal code trial. Do those employees push back and not want to participate? We need the witness that actually saw the offense. So for shoplifting, there has to be concealment, and the person has to leave. They have to pass the opportunity to pay. With the amount of violence that our criminal element has evolved to or devolved to, depending on how you want to look at it, over the last decade or two, is it worth it for someone to get in a physical altercation with that person to apprehend them when they've stolen, $10 worth of food or a couple of batteries or whatever they've stolen, or whether they've stolen $3,000 or $4,000 worth of merchandise? So the criminal code, there's theft over $5,000 and there's theft under $5,000, and there's no, it doesn't get broken down any further than that. So my thoughts and feelings on it, without having done a survey, is the cost that it has, that it costs a corporation to have somebody attend court is probably not worth it for them. And then you have the fact of most of these companies, their policies when we show up is like if somebody walked out with a shopping cart full of groceries or a shopping cart full of electronics or a shopping cart full of tools. We would never say to somebody, why didn't you stop them? Because we know exactly they shouldn't be stopping them. They shouldn't be getting in a physical altercation with somebody who, could have an edged weapon, could have a needle, could have a gun, could have any other type of weapon. It's just not, it's not worth it for property. That's my best guess, without doing the sociological surveys and
Yeah.
not having that be my expertise in university.
Well, that's an interesting perspective, but, it becomes a slippery slope, doesn't it? I mean,
Most definitely.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we get what we allow.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
It's a difficult place to be in for us, and it's also a difficult place to be in for those employees and for those companies. So, again, that's my best guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any other questions? I don't necessarily have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for presenting today, but also a thank you and congratulations on those arrests that were made for those murder charges. And I know that's, there's a lot of multiple factors that contribute to that, and we're extremely grateful for this local detachment and the members and yourself and your whole team, but we also are for all the other, whether it's North District, and I don't know all the acronyms because you say them to me lots and I have no clue what they all are, but I know there's more than just one division that helps out, and this community is extremely grateful for all the supports we get, and it seems, just my short time here, like we've got a lot of supports at all levels, and it's continuous. So, just thank you. And I didn't want to touch too much on the Tumbler thing. I know it's tough, and I just want to thank you. I know some of the members here and your brother, and just thank you. I mean, it's what you guys do every day is beyond what, and lots should have to, and what you put yourselves out to do. And it's just, we are so appreciative of what you do every day. And so just thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll finish off with, I appreciate, the congratulations on that file, but I do need to emphasize that that's a major crime. MCU is major crime unit.
Okay.
And their report.
That's a good chance to remember. Yeah.
So their reporting line is, so that's a district resource, a provincial team, and they report down to E Division, which is British Columbia. Superintendent Wijakun heads that unit up, and then sub-reporting through up to district in Prince George, and it's that team. It was someday we'll be able to talk about all the intricacies of how that rolled out, and it's dumbfounding the amount of resources, just even with the arrest, all of the pieces that came together is just, it's truly amazing, and to be the leader in charge of that down in E Division or in Prince George. The people that coordinated that, just like standing ovation, awesome. So thank you to them, and thank you for the acknowledgement from yourself, your worship, and council. It's a pleasure to work here. It's again, I said, like when I met you on an MS Teams meeting before I came here, one of the goals and that I read about yourself before you even became mayor was that your goal was to make Dawson Creek a better place. And that's my goal as a commander, is to make Dawson Creek a better place. And I think the RCMP, working with mayor and council, again, like I said to CJDC News the other day, I think we're getting there. Some of our property crime numbers don't show that, but the feel of the community, putting people in jail, arresting people for some of these heinous crimes, the amount of work, again, that goes into those investigations, it takes a lot longer than the public has patience for sometimes, truly. So I get that. But these investigations don't stop. They continue on. They don't get put on the back burner. There's teams of people that are working as hard as they can on these, and sometimes they take 2 years, sometimes they take 4 or 5, 6 years. And it's not unheard of in Canada to find homicide files that are 10, 15, 20 years old, where charges are secured and people are convicted and go to jail for these crimes. There's so many pieces of evidence that have to be processed. I wish we could do it sooner. I wish that life was like a 53-minute CSI episode, but it's not. So thank you again for your support from yourself, your worship, and from all of council. It makes it a lot easier when you have this kind of support, which a lot of cities, a lot of towns, a lot of villages and communities don't have this. So kudos to you all for what you do for us and giving us that drive and motivation. It helps so much. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with you. So,
You as well. Thanks.
yes, thank you. All right, so we're going to end the regular recess, the regular council meeting, and then we were going to go right into committee of the whole. So I'd like to call the committee of whole meeting for Monday, February 23rd, 2026 to order. 2 delegations, no delegations, 3 adoption of the minutes, 3.1 minutes of committee of the whole meeting from February 9th, 2026 for adoption. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Kemp, call that to vote. And I was maybe too quick.
The meeting is paused.
That gives me time to pull the agenda up because I didn't do that yet, so. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. All right, any business arising? No? 5 reports. Report number 26-025 from the Director of Communications and Digital Services regarding the Start Something campaign, Phase 1 wrap-up. Good morning, Melissa, and welcome.
Good morning. All right, so as promised at the last council meeting, Councillor McDonald had asked when I would be bringing back a little wrap-up report on our Start Something campaign. It's too bad that he's not here today, but he'll be able to watch this back on video, so that's good. So today I'm here to provide an overview of Phase 1 of the Start Something campaign, including key results, lessons learned, and next steps as we move into Phase 2. As you know, this campaign was a request of Council in January 2024 with a primary focus of attracting physicians and other professionals while strengthening Dawson Creek's online presence. So a little bit of background on this project. Through the capital project budget, Council approved a $135,000 full scope campaign, which included a strategy, different media resources, and seasonal imagery. The RFP was awarded and the project began in May of 2024. So this project followed a phased approach, starting with discovery and community interviews. We captured summer and winter visuals, and we progressed through a soft launch in November 2024 to a full-scale launch in April of 2025. The research completed by the marketing firm that I worked with confirmed what residents already know. Dawson Creek is a connected, supportive community. We identified areas where improvements or further promotion could enhance recruitment, such as highlighting youth programming, infrastructure, and lifestyle benefits. But mostly found that community attributes included a laid-back lifestyle, eclectic mix of people and businesses, willingness to help and lift each other up, and a strong community spirit. The lifestyle advantages that the team found through interviews with residents and business owners in Dawson Creek was that we have time for family, hobbies, and personal growth. There are opportunities to start and grow businesses. They referenced us as an entrepreneur's playground, which I thought was a nice phrase. We have high support for youth with active sports teams and student council engagement. We have easy access to outdoors and local amenities, and we have affordable and safe living. The team also summarized some challenges and barriers that they found throughout the interviews. Some were that we have limited services and activities for teens and young adults, and whether we actually have limited services or it may just be that we aren't marketing them as strongly as we could be. Lack of higher quality housing options. This has been mentioned before, where our housing market tends to stick around that middle area, and some professionals are looking for a higher range of housing. Limited access to professional services, need to travel to nearby larger communities for some opportunities, and a perception of limited growth. The team also took a look at why residents stay and why residents leave through the interviews again. So some reasons that residents stay would be affordability and cost of living, strong community connections, balance of city size, we're big enough to matter, but you're small enough to belong. Our access to outdoor recreation, and our safe and welcoming environment. And some reasons cited that residents leave were the desire for expanded educational options for children, limited professional opportunities, and the need for additional amenities, services, and entertainment options. So the team took all of this information that was collected through the interviews, and they developed a creative strategy. And this is where they came up with the concept and the campaign's central idea, which was start something. So the concept reflects Dawson Creek as a welcoming, affordable, and opportunity-rich community where professionals and newcomers can discover a sense of belonging and purpose, build meaningful connections, pursue personal and professional growth, experience a balanced lifestyle with short commutes, community engagement, and local exploration. As part of this creative strategy, they came up with campaign goals. So we had a goal of promoting Dawson Creek as a desirable location for physicians and skilled professionals. We aimed to highlight entrepreneurial opportunities and support for new businesses, showcase the city's quality of life, affordability, and community spirit, and we aimed to encourage both newcomers and existing residents to engage with the community. A couple of themes that came out of the creative strategy were well-being and positivity, growth and opportunity, entrepreneurial spirit, community connection and support, and affordable, safe, and welcoming. These are all very similar. You can see that there were some very strong themes that came out of all of the interviews. So then the team took the creative strategy and began to build the campaign. So some of the campaign components are on these next few slides. The campaign featured a comprehensive set of creative assets designed to attract professionals and showcase Dawson Creek. 2 longer format hero videos is what we call them. They highlighted summer and winter imagery to build engagement. They were supported by shorter 30 and 15-second videos, which were optimized for digital platforms. And professional photography captured the community, local businesses, and recreational activities. Well, campaign stamps, which you can see on that third photo there, is one of the stamps. That's the main stamp. And custom designed ad layouts reinforce the campaign's visual identity. So advertising ran across multiple channels, including Google Ads, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, programmatic digital platforms, and streaming TV pre-rolls. The campaign also leveraged traditional television through public service announcement time slots, reaching audiences in Dawson Creek, neighboring communities, and key national markets. Target audiences included local residents, healthcare professionals, teachers, skilled tradespeople, entrepreneurs, and new Canadians. And there's just another example of one of the ad sets. So pictured here is the landing page for startyoursomething.ca. That's the main website that was developed alongside this campaign. It is designed to hold this campaign, but also be a bit of an economic development wing off of dawsoncreek.ca. We also purchased a trade show booth, which you can see in the right-hand photo there, right off the hop, so that we could ensure we had a solid plan in place for taking the campaign on the road. And we've used that booth now a number of times, and I have had excellent feedback on our campaign. We just popped this booth up at Growing the North last week. And again, we had several people that stopped by and said, where did you get your booth? Who designed this? And who came up with this campaign? So it's a neat conversation to have, because we're talking about visuals and people are wanting to have the same visuals as us. But then it's a nice segue into what is Dawson Creek doing and what are we starting in our community. So this campaign was not without some roadblocks and lessons learned. In the early days, we had some residents that expressed concern over awarding the RFP to an out-of-town company. After the campaign launched, some businesses wanted to reach out and be included in the campaign, and they shared concerns over the criteria how individual residents were chosen for filming. So we addressed these concerns by providing the criteria by which proponents are chosen during the RFP process. It's a very standardized approach, which we all use, and is required of local government. And then we also explained that the criteria for choosing the interview participants that you saw in the imagery was with a specific focus on showcasing diversity, longtime businesses, women in business, and young thriving residents. So that was the criteria that was selected based on the interviews that the marketing team completed and what they built for ensuring that we would have a campaign that reached the goals that we were trying to achieve. And we had strong community participation despite very tight timelines. So this campaign launched, we had kickoff in May 2024, and we had to be filming by July of 2024, which is a very tight turnaround. And I was very lucky to have many community members that stepped up and were willing to be part of the campaign. So getting into a bit of the metrics here. In November 2024, the soft launch included summer imagery that we had captured in the previous July. The soft launch helped us test messaging and ad performance before moving into the full launch with the full ad spend. So early results were strong, especially pre-roll completion rates, indicating that viewers were very highly engaged with the campaign content. And just for those watching or those in the room, here's a little definition for the advertising format. So over-the-top TV, which you'll see listed in a few of these metrics, is streaming via smart TVs and devices with precise targeting. And pre-roll ads are those 15 or 30-second videos that we all see where you're not able to skip them. So sometimes they drive us insane, but it makes for really great advertising. And those worked really well for us. In February 2025, the film crew visited Dawson Creek again to capture some winter imagery, and we added that into the full launch of the campaign. And the full launch ran from April to July 2025. Digital ads, programmatic placements, and over-the-top TV outperformed industry benchmarks across all platforms, reaching a wide audience efficiently. And I'll try to share in just a short recap. Every time I met with the ad buying team on this campaign, their main head ad buyer just kept expressing how well this campaign did. She said it was really unbelievable to her that we had such good traction for the content that we were pushing. And so that was very encouraging and good to hear. And the other thing that they noted is that they didn't find that there was fatigue when seeing our ads, which means that we can continue to use these ads for several years to come in several different ways. So a neat metric that we captured was verified visits. The campaign tracked verified visits to measure how online engagement translated into actual visits to Dawson Creek. Verified visits are defined as individuals who clicked on a campaign ad and then were subsequently tracked into the city's target area during the campaign period. So only devices with enabled location services were measurable. And so that represents approximately 70% of the total potential visitors. And so you can see here We had 359 clicked verified visits. And so the cost per visit based on our ad spend was about $19.57 for those people to have entered into the Dawson Creek area. And then the estimated tourism revenue from that is $215,400 based on $600 spent per visitor. So it's all general estimates based on benchmarking across the province, but kind of a neat return to see on that campaign. All right, and a huge shout out is due to Northern Development Initiative Trust, as NDIT grants covered nearly half of the campaign cost. By leveraging grant support, the city was able to launch a top-tier marketing campaign with high-quality digital assets, hero videos, and advertising placements while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Okay, and next steps, we're looking at phase 2. So building on the success of phase 1, phase 2 of the Start Something campaign is planned for 2026 and has been capital approved. Phase 2 will focus on expanding campaign assets and broadening local engagement. Some key initiatives include expanding our media assets, capturing additional videos and photography to increase the library of content available for both digital and print campaigns. This will allow for more flexible use across multiple platforms and future recruitment or promotion efforts. We have the ability to look at a new content focus if we would like to. We can highlight additional local businesses and key infrastructure. I know that may be an interest of council. We could look at highlighting, for example, the South Peace Multiplex, the Art Gallery, the NER Park, Pioneer Village, the Calvin Crook Center for the Arts, and local schools. I think that those would all be great, and we know that we have community partners there that also would likely be willing to be interviewed. And another way that we're expanding is in printed materials. So we're developing additional print collateral to complement digital campaigns, supporting outreach and local promotion. Some future visuals that you can expect to see, we have purchased some mesh fence banners for a bit of a pilot project looking to cover one of the brownfields downtown. We've been working alongside the owner, and they've given us permission to hang our banners along their fence there. So we're going to give that a go. And this mostly promotes the Start Something campaign, but also has a bit of downtown wayfinding, and should be a neat pilot project there. I think it will look great. So we're just working on finishing up those details before those banners can be hung. And the second image that you see there below with the Start Something stamp is potential Start Something vinyl stickers for Dawson Creek businesses. So this is something that the campaign team developed and suggested, is that we could make this part of, say, our business license package or a collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. You could get one of these vinyl stickers for your front door of your business every time you open a business in Dawson Creek. I think that would be a really neat idea, and I'd love to hear your feedback on that one as well. So in conclusion, phase 1 was a major success. We had strong engagement, measurable visits, and the campaign exceeded benchmarks. And phase 2, there's lots of opportunity to expand assets, deepen local engagement, and reinforce the campaign brand. And one thing I would just like to mention that I didn't put in earlier is that phase 1 was really about marketing across Canada. So not necessarily marketing to Dawson Creek itself. So several people may say, oh, I don't know about the Start Something campaign, or I haven't seen it yet. That's because our goal was to attract outside of our region across Canada into Dawson Creek. So the ads were targeted out there, not necessarily locally. Phase 2 is about kind of bringing that awareness of the entire campaign while still continuing to market outside of our region. And before I end, I would just like to say a thank you. Here's the list of hopefully every person. I realized this morning I missed 2 people on this list, but I really had a lot of community support. Everyone stepped up, whether it was through interviews, showing up to do a short video interview, being willing to be in photos, opening their businesses to us. They really put a lot of trust in me and the marketing team, and it was neat to see community step up in the way that they did. So thank you to everyone on this slide. All right, and that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for, the presentation, but also all the information in the report. Just exciting to see. And it was just great to see all of this. So thank you. Councillor Parslow.
As you know, I'm a doubting Thomas about quite a few things, but you've certainly done a good job within those things in your circle of control. So there's a couple of, this is not my bailiwick at all, this area. And some of it I quite frankly don't understand. I'm looking at key results in your presentation. Okay. And if you don't mind, I just like a reminder, because I say I don't know anything about this sort of stuff. To me, it's a bit of voodoo. It's a bit of spin doctrine. I was often accused of being a spin doctor. I'm not accusing you. You've done a great job within your circle of control.
Thank you.
So a clicked verified visit, 359. Please, what was the definition of a clicked verified visit?
Yes, absolutely. So through your worship to Councillor Parslow, a clicked verified visit is measured by if you had clicked on one of our ads and then you had visited Dawson Creek during that campaign period when we were capturing that. So from April to July 2025, if you had clicked on one of our ads and you were if you were outside of the Dawson Creek area,
yes,
and then you visited Dawson Creek, we would say that you were a verified visit.
Good. So the cost per verified visit, what's the math?
So based on the programmatic spend that was on that slide, $7,025. Yes, thank you, Mayor.
That's the programmatic. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I did flip through that quite fast.
No, that's good. That's okay. You did a great job. I'm not criticizing you one iota. Estimated tourism revenue. Now, this is a flag for me, okay? So did I hear you say, maybe anticipating this flag of mine, $600 spent per visitor? Did you say that came from the province figures?
This is based on a figure that our specific tourism marketing team uses across the board. And so they also work with Destination BC. And so that's
yes.
Yeah,
one of my
that's the
favorite
standard,
groups, Destination BC, yeah. Okay. So they'll use, data from Whistler, Victoria, and other hotspots and apply it to Dawson Creek. Yeah, okay, thank you. Now, what this return on ad spend, so the ad spend is 7,025, right? And you divided that by into the 215,400, right? Is that how you got that figure?
Yes.
Yes to what?
Yes. The ad spend is the 7,000.
Yes.
And then divided by per dollar spent.
Gotcha.
Estimating the
gotcha.
$600
Okay.
per dollar spent.
All right. So, fine. My last question then. So the goal is to market Dawson Creek, okay? So what was started? Was there a new business started that was a result of this work, or what was started here? What tangible difference has it made to the economic virility of our community.
Through your worship to Councillor Parslow. So I did reach out to see if I could get some solid stat numbers, since the true main goal of this campaign was to attract physicians to the community and then professionals on top of that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get those stats before this presentation. I think I gave too tight of a deadline, but that's something that I could share. But that was the ultimate goal of this campaign. And so I think, if I may, people may find this confusing a bit, because this is a economic development, start something, build your business, entrepreneurial type campaign. When you're looking to attract professionals and physicians, you need to look at what they are needing in a community in order to get here. So we're promoting the fact that Dawson Creek supports our community members, whether that is building a business, starting a nonprofit, starting a new activity. That is the spirit of this campaign. And so there may not be specific businesses started as a result of this, although I can speak to the fact that we do have new businesses that have popped up within the last 2 years. But I didn't include those stats. But that is something that I could get for you if you're interested to see a comparable.
Well, that's an excellent answer, Melissa. No, I don't need that. The marketing, right? It's so difficult, right, to assess. Does it make any difference at all, right? I won't go on at length about that, but no, your answer was excellent. Certainly the attraction of medical professionals, but again, there's other people working at that as well, other organizations. For the shortage of qualified teachers, as an example, the school district's efforts, right, on that. So it's a team effort. And so, no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Roll.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Melissa. And just the piece of feedback you asked with respect to the banners as maybe in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, I think that's great. I think, and I'd maybe touch base with Councillor McDonald when he's back, as he's the Chamber liaison, around reestablishing some sort of welcome wagon camp initiative as people and businesses are moving to the region. I think, we as a community wrapping our arms around them and making sure that they are integrated and it's as easy as possible to set down roots are very important to keeping people in the community. Getting them here is one thing, but how do we keep them here and how do we demonstrate the value? I think the campaign is very polished. I commend you on that. It looked world class. I think comparable in quality to anything you'd see from a much larger and better resourced community. And I think, to Councillor Parslow's point, you've done as good a job as a person can reasonably do providing stats. I mean, the old adage in marketing is at any given time, one half of your budget is wasted. The trick is figuring out which half. As somebody who works in communications, I feel that too, right? Trying to articulate value in something that is as much a science as it is an art is what makes it difficult and fascinating and so thank you for the update, and I look forward to seeing the next phase and hope that as you noted, there were a couple hiccups when we first tried to roll it out with respect to public engagement and public involvement and conveying to the public what we were trying to accomplish. And I hope this, gives us a chance to maybe address that and move forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Roll. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, thank you, Melissa, for the amazing and excellent presentation and update. Yeah, as I said, at least we have a campaign rather than not. Compared years ago, it's scattered. So at least it's like centralized now because as Councillor Jeremy Earl, I also hold a lot of, social media account just to introduce this one, and you don't know who's going to reach. So, and sometimes I will be surprised that you people from nowhere will message you, and then they see this one. So at least, as I said, rather than nothing. So thank you, and yeah, excellent job for now. And then of course, I would like to get that sticker. Where we can get that sticker, at least for the new businesses, and for sure they want to display that on those new businesses. So, maybe I'll just get back to you or get in touch with you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Apollonio. Other discussion? I just I had a couple comments. I guess one is, just thank you for the whole process, Melissa. I think it's been a lot of hard work to get through here, and that company that was hired, lots of engagement and community, and it was just great to see how it all came together. I know marketing is hard to measure, but I look at this and I'm like, 865,000 people viewed that, like a positive message of the city of Dawson Creek, where if we didn't contribute to this, it's just a message that's not out there 865,000 times. And to me, there's a lot of value in that. I also firsthand get to see Melissa presented this to the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee and a lot of other groups, but that one specifically. And I got to see firsthand those physicians that were there, how much it meant to them to see it. And then also accompanying them on some of their conferences and stuff. This is a tool that they utilize well. They send it to new physicians that are looking at coming to our community and region. It's front and center at the conferences that I've been at, and it's a strong tool that the South Peace Division of Family Practice uses. Can you say specifically if it attracted a physician? I don't know that, but I can see that there's been a lot of changes, and this, in combination of a lot of things, just gives a positive message about the city of Dawson Creek, and to me, like that, it makes it completely worthwhile, it's cool. It's just amazing to see these numbers, because you're part of it. You hear comments, you see things, but to see this. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's phenomenal. So it's pretty grateful and proud actually when you're going through that, and to see and to hear you speak and you're passionate about it. So just thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if there's no other questions, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to recess for lunch, and then we will be back for committee of the whole, likely after 1 o'clock sometime. So February 23rd, back to order. So next order of business is 2.4. We have Danielle Desjarlais, the event coordinator with West Moberly First Nations, Miah O'Neill Simpson, Jordan's principal service coordinator with Treaty 8 Travel Association. We have Marlene, who's the executive director of the Treaty 8 Travel Association. And then we have Asher, councillor with West Moberly First Nations in attendance. So they're here to request sponsorship for the 2026 Cultural Gathering of the Nations. So welcome to the four of you, and it's nice to see you here. So if you just push in the middle there, push that button, and then there you go. The floor is all yours, so welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Daniel Desjarlais. I'm the events coordinator for West Moberly First Nations, but I am also going to be getting contracted to be the event director for the Cultural Gathering of Nations this year. We have already been working on it. It's been going really well. Our promotion is doing great. We're here today to request an in-kind donation of the event center again. This year we have a little bit more of an ask, just as in last year, you guys sponsored the event center. And even with that sponsorship, thank you very much, by the way. Even with that sponsorship, we did acquire just like a couple grand more extra on top of it, just for food and some other things that that was never really discussed before. So this year, we're requesting up to $50,000 in an in-kind sponsorship for the donation of the event center. So basically, we have a quote from the Ovintiv Event Center for $46,000 for the 4 days. We're asking for a little bit over that, just in case there is any extra costs that come additionally after we go through the quote. Sorry, just so that we don't have to pay the extra couple grand like we did last year. But yeah, the cultural we're happening on September 17th to the 20th this year. We're doing a powwow again. We've got a hand games tournament going. We've got the tea dance. We're doing the farmers market, the food court or the food trucks, and we're going to be having a big cultural area. And this year for the host nations, we actually have West Moberly First Nations, Soto First Nations, Doig River First Nations, Fort Nelson First Nations, Prophet River First Nations, Blueberry River First Nations. Who else? Is that everyone? I think that Halfway River First Nations. So this year's event it's a combination of pretty much every single Treaty 8 band that is in BC right now. We meet at least once a week, sometimes twice a week to start to do the planning and stuff. We're in the early stages of it still, but we have our promotion out and it's been doing amazing. All we've really released is one poster that has our save the date, and it's already been seen by over 75,000 people. So it's going out there, it's expanding, and we're really excited for this year. I think it's going to be probably double the amount of people that we had last year, if not more. So, yeah, if you have any questions about the gathering or for me or...
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being here and for putting the event on last year. It was a great event to attend, and it was nice just to see everybody come together. And I know it was the first year, but it seemed to be extremely successful, and it was great to be down there and see it. So so thank you. I'll open it up to council first for questions. If anybody's got... Councillor Parslow?
You're welcome. Who is good you got every nation on board this time, right? Last time there was some omissions, weren't there? Not everybody.
Last year it was just West Moberly, Prophet, and Halfway.
Okay. So each has a representative on the organizing committee?
Yeah, so on our organizing committee, we're actually working on getting 2 representatives from each nation, so that we have one cultural representative and then one event coordinator, so that the event coordinator can help run an aspect of the event itself, and then the culture coordinators can work on doing our cultural teachings and make sure that everything that we're doing at the event is culturally appropriate and respectful.
Right. So there won't be any disputes this year about how some of the hand games are...
I can't say that. We've got the issue with some things like that is that we have different hand games in different nations,
yes,
right?
That's right.
But we only have one hand games tournament. So the hand games tournament last year was it was adjusted in a way that it kind of combined both hand game styles. So it's just a learning curve for everybody, but we've already started putting on workshops for people to learn the new way that we're doing it. Plus, we are kind of in discussions about adding another one, but it's not guaranteed or not.
So there will be some peace on that issue this next time?
Yes. We're hoping that we get over double the amount of teams this year, because we've already been getting a lot of vendor applications, even though we don't have our registration out. We've been getting a ton of people asking for hand games. CBC has contacted me about doing a news piece on it. I've been reaching out to APTN. I'm all about getting this out there.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you to our delegation for coming. And I was able to attend a little bit of the gathering last year, and I think it was a great inaugural event. The first one is always the hardest because that's, a lot of learning in real time, right? So it's wonderful to see you guys continuing that, and as the host community with the venue, I understand why you'd reach out to us with respect to sponsorship. And I imagine we'll have to have a conversation with the OEC, just because usually when we forego rent or revenue in relation to rentals, it's usually for I guess, it's not usually for hard costs, so the labor involved, or when it comes to food and beverage or setup and takedown is generally, just seeing what that looks like. We might have to talk with the OAC. A couple questions. Have you reached out to any other municipal or regional governments for sponsorship yet, or are we your first?
No, you're our first one.
All right. And just, I assume as this conversation and the event evolves, you'll be touching base with people, whether it's the RD or some of the others. No, I think it's great that you're back to continue with the event, and putting the dates out there this far in advance, I think is great. Like I said, last time as the first event for us, it was, trying to be accommodating and figuring out where we fit in the whole thing and be supportive, because obviously I think it's valuable, and to hear you've grown the involvement among nations and broaden that, I think is obviously in keeping with the spirit of the event. So thank you, and look forward to it.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Apollonio?
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, again, thank you very much for the delegation. Thank you very much for coming over, despite the weather and the road. So I was just saying thanks because, of course, it's the second year. So I was there partly. The first year, it was good, especially me coming from a different background. So I saw your tradition, your culture. So it's really enlightening for me, especially, and how to participate. And of course, actually, some of my friends, like from my country, went to your event, and they are astonished about the event. So they're really information, education. So it's very, very important. So, and again, thank you very much for choosing Dawson Creek again this year to hold your event. Looking forward on September. I already followed you in social media.
Thank you, Councillor Apollonio. Any other questions?
You're looking to save money on a photographer.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I got a few questions. I guess first, just thank you for coming today. Like Councillor Apollonio said, braving the roads today are a little typical northern roads for this time of year. But just thank you for coming and the efforts to bring this forward again for the second year into our community. It's great in many aspects, and that it's not just about having it hosted in the community. It's about just bringing community together and in the region and the province and Western Canada, really. So it's very great to see and to be a bit a part of. So just on the ask, so just to clarify, you said, was it 50,000 or 15?
50.
50,000. Okay. Councillor Earl said too, like the Event of Event Center, they operate that facility for us. So sometimes we will waive rental fees, but there's a bit more to this. And generally we have most groups go there and talk to them first because they're the operators. So that way we're not undercutting them.
So we did go and talk to them, and we do have a quote. That was why we came up with the 50,000, because our quote was 46,000. But we're asking for 50, just up to 50. It's not guaranteed to be 50. It's just basically what the final invoice that they would send us is covered by you, is kind of what we're going for.
Yeah, okay. And then, so there's quite a, like other sponsorship, I know there's a lot that goes to this. So So yeah, there's sponsorship that you get, that will be more towards like the games and stuff. Is that kind of when you're looking for the city to do that? Okay.
So we do actually, we have sponsorship packages that we have finalized and we are going to be sending out here soon.
Okay.
I've also applied for tons and tons of grants and everything for it. So yeah, we're just kind of seeing what we can get for an in-kind donation from the city, just to help with the cost of the venue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I mean, that's something that we have to have that conversation, and I wasn't like directing you to talk to them first. I was just letting you know kind of like how our process works. And because there is, it's a city-owned facility, but ran by a company that, as far as like food and beverages and other services, they're not really in kind for us because we have to pay them.
Okay.
So if we were to like grant that, because they're a separate company running that facility, we would essentially have to fund it.
Okay.
So if we were to, if it's $5,000 in a food credit somebody wanted, we have to write that check physically to them to subsidize that because the way the contract works and comes back to us. But that's just so you, yeah.
Yes, you know the process.
Yeah, just so you know the process, and that's what we are, because our grant budget annually at the city of Dawson Creek is, I think it's
12.5.
just over, I was gonna say just over $10,000. So 12.5, that's what we allocate in our budget to give out to grants to community organizations and to put on events in the communities. So quite a bit less than the 50. I just wanted to explain that so you knew the process, so. Yeah, because we don't specifically run the facility, so.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, and not to say, I mean, last year, I think it was a different line item, or whether it hit our books and how it hit our books with respect to the sponsorship last year. I'm not sure what the exact thing was, but I mean, it's yeah, just, I think the point is anything above and beyond what we call the soft costs, which is the venue rental itself, is a conversation with the OAC for us. So it might be a beat until we can get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, we're more or less just asking for the same thing that we did last year. And the addition was just because we had to pay an additional, like, maybe $5,000 last year. And we were just wondering if that could get costs covered, but if it can't, then that's fine. But the venue rental is the main thing that we would love to be able to get sponsored.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then when you say we last year had to cover the cost, are you referring to like?
The
West
cultural
Moberly
gathering of
first,
nations,
or
no.
The whole group, okay.
The three of us.
Yeah, the cultural gatherings, the cultural gathering, we have our own finance and
Entity,
everything entity through. So it all runs through Treaty 8 right now. It was kind of a mix between the bands last year, but this year we just we put it into Treaty 8's books. So now it's a Treaty 8 event, and then we're just running through Treaty 8 and everything, so.
Okay, perfect.
And it's just all the nations are working together through Treaty 8 to host it.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify that, so thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions? No, I think that's it. Kevin, did you have any questions or no? Okay. Yeah, thank you for coming and coming down and presenting in person. Always nice to see and meet and meet you. Yeah, just always welcome.
And I just, for the sake of helping promote the event, when you do have the collateral with respect to whether it's sponsorship packages or registration, stuff like that finalized, please do pass it along to us so we can
100%.
make sure that's shared out through our various channels.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it, and safe travels home, and stay warm out there today, so.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, you bet.
Have a good day.
You too, thank you. All right, well, I guess our next order of business is 11.2 to the delegation request from West Moberly First Nations and Treaty 8 Travel Association, so. I don't have any controls. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Anybody wanna? I mean, I guess there's a request there, but we.
Yeah. So through your worship, I think we have a bit of time. So I'm just wondering, maybe just direct staff to go back. We'll talk to OVG. We'll work through some things. Also dig up all the information of what we did last year. We'll just make sure we have all of that, and then we'll come back to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. Put that motion forward by Kevin and seconded.
I so move.
Councillor Earl and second Councillor Kempf.
Make it so, Kevin.
All right, I'll call that motion to vote.
What's the motion?
That. I was gonna take an attempt at it before I put that on tap, so
got yourself now.
I was gonna save you tap. Is everybody in, Janice? Yeah, vote is closed, and that's carried. All right, do I recess to Cal and then come back in and do the closed? Okay, all right, I'm gonna recess to the Cal meeting. Do we need a minute to have David up here? Okay, we'll just take a quick break. 2026 to order. So next on the agenda was report 5.2, which is report number 26028 from the city planner regarding zoning bylaw number 4625 2026 update. So welcome.
Back again.
There you go. Yes, back again.
All right.
The floor is all yours.
Thank you. So the purpose of my presentation today is to, in some ways, introduce the background work on zoning bylaw number 4625 of the year 2026 to council. Currently, we're anticipating bringing the zoning bylaw for first reading regular council for March 9th, 2026. But we wanted to sort of provide council the ability to maybe have some questions answered ahead of time so that you're aware of some of the work that we've done to bring the bylaw to this point. At this current time, we don't have a finalized draft ready, but the remaining details are just some minor mapping and graphic changes, so we should be ready to go. All right, so let's see if the clicker works. Here we go. All right. So today, what I'm hoping to cover is some of the timeline regarding the development of the zoning bylaw, some of the provincial legislation which originally required the changes to the zoning bylaw, a little bit more about the zoning bylaw in the context of other planning documents, a bit about housing needs, which is related to some of the provincial legislation which required the changes to the zoning bylaw, some of the engagement we received from the community regarding elements of the zoning bylaw, and some further changes which we brought into place as a result of the feedback which we received.
Crazy to think that picture was not that long ago.
Yeah.
It seems like it was a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's progressed in a short period of time.
Just
Sorry,
trying to get to the building stuff and putting things together kind of thing. So there you go. Get a picture of something under construction. But yeah, of course. So yeah, a little bit further in detail there. A couple things I didn't indicate on this individual slide, which I will be going into further detail on later on, are some of those provincially required changes, namely Bill 44 and Bill 25. As many on council are already aware, we do have our current zoning bylaw from the year 2024, which is not that long ago. And a part of the reason why we're having to bring this again is because the province has kind of drip-feeded us the required legislative changes. So as things have gone, essentially more things came out, which I'll speak to in more detail, that required us to have another look at it again in the year 2026. So a little further there on the background, the project startup, we had a survey which went out to the community. We had a staff workshop. We had a bit of a council workshop, which I should have written there too. And in regards to developing the draft bylaw, we had to, of course, review those updates from the province that they wanted us to include. We had to review the OCP. I'll speak in more detail there shortly. Review the engagement feedback, and then now we're sort of at that consultation approval sort of stage, I would say, where we are sort of beginning to refer our current draft out to provincial agencies, to council. We're sort of talking about the background here today, and we will have a public consultation as a part of the LGA requirements through the approval process there. So, starting off with why we're doing this again in the year 2026. As many on council may already be aware, housing affordability has been a hot button topic for the provincial government for a number of years. And a response to housing affordability issues from the province has been to apply sort of these blanket changes within the Local Government Act towards all municipalities, regardless of where they're located in BC. So essentially, the goal of a lot of these updates from the eyes of the province is to sort of address the supply side when it comes to residential dwelling construction. So, of course, local municipalities, as one of their main levers, have the ability to regulate land uses and residential dwelling unit densities across all properties located within the city. And therefore, it was of the opinion of the province that essentially one of the ways to potentially tackle housing affordability throughout the province was that they would no longer allow municipalities to be as limiting as they might otherwise be regarding the number of dwelling units they would require for residential properties. So the original bill that was brought forward with this goal in mind was Bill 44. One of the substance of that change originally was what they referred to as small-scale multi-unit housing. So you can sort of see on the left side of that page there, that was some of the housing typologies they had in mind that they sort of wanted to make allowable across all properties, regardless of the municipality. So they are now sort of mandating that the minimum number of dwelling units that zoning bylaws must allow in the province is 4. So some of the other housing types which you may see in residential neighborhoods that must be allowed by the zoning bylaw are sort of indicated there. However, they did follow up later after they provided that initial deadline to comply with the small-scale multi-unit housing initiatives of, I believe that deadline was June 30th of 2024. They came back with more and asked that every municipality must now provide a housing needs report, which outlines the projected number of dwelling units that a municipality would need to meet its needs over a 5 and a 20-year time span, and also sort of show that your existing zoning bylaw and OCP is allowing for the development of that number of units that would meet that 5 and 20-year projected housing needs. All right, so that further change is largely what resulted in the city staff needing to sort of look back at that OCP again and the zoning bylaw. And the deadline for compliance, which they presented for that further detail, was December 31st of 2025. Of course, we're now here in 2026. We've been in communication with the province. They are aware of where we were at in our development stage of bringing our OCP and zoning bylaw. And they also did introduce a further Bill 25 there, which sort of clarifies provincial powers around regulating form and character, among other things, which we have made sure our current zoning bylaw and OCP that we're developing right now, the new ones, I should say, are compliant with, so that we're not doing this whole thing again next year. The deadline for that further change provided was June 30th of this year, 2026. So I thought it might be good to provide a little more detail of why we're doing both the OCP and the zoning bylaw at this point. Typically, it's customary across most municipalities to bring forward the zoning bylaw after your OCP. So to elaborate further on why that is the case, generally speaking, your OCP is meant to be your guiding document. It sets the big picture in specific relation to land use planning, which is most of what my role encompasses. that is the sort of what sorts of, for instance, zoning bylaw changes the city would support going into the future, what kinds of development the city would be a fan of, for lack of a better word. And so it sort of provides a lot of general statements. So if I were to elaborate on that, for instance, the OCP might say something like, we support infill development, we support redevelopment of your brownfields lands in the city, we support, downtown development, but that sort of level of depth is not really sufficient as a regulatory document. When you get into the zoning bylaw, that's when you're really starting to put things in boxes, hence the diagram on the right there, and sort of really defining what are the specific land uses the city is allowing across different zones within the city, what are the dimensions that a building must comply with, what's the shape of that development supposed to look like, how does it fit in within what the city is allowing. And those rules are important to note are kind of what the city, generally speaking, would allow by default. There is an understanding from the side of staff that, of course, not everything's going to fit into a box. So we have other planning tools available to us, such as your temporary use permits and your variance permits. Those allow for specific exceptions to be made to certain zoning bylaw rules if the case is sort of seen that, there may be cause for a particular property to sort of maybe have certain regulations loosened. The nice thing about keeping things for those specific planning tools is that it allows us to sort of regulate things on a case-by-case basis. So if somebody brings to us a particular hardship that they might be facing as a result of the rules within the zoning bylaw, we can go to the community, we can bring things to council, staff can do more background research on a particular development proposal and sort of use the box cutter in this illustrative example to sort of modify the rules for a specific development. So that's why I've sort of applied this general analogy here. Hopefully it helps. The OCP is like your big picture. I was going to put a picture of a rainbow in there, but in this case, I didn't have some good stock footage of a rainbow over Dawson Creek, so I got the Northern Lights instead. It's your guiding principles. The zoning bylaw is your specific rules. The temporary use permits and variances are your specific exemptions. So I sort of alluded to this earlier. Within the province's new requirements for zoning bylaws and OCPs, the city must show in some way that the land that we've currently regulated for development, for residential dwelling units in particular, we must have at least the number that is projected to be needed for the city's 20-year time period. So the estimate for what the future residential dwelling units needed going on for the next 5 years and for the next 20 years is what is within our housing needs report. So the city conducted one, I believe the year was 2024 when it was done, in collaboration with the regional district. And based on a set of provincial guidelines around how that number should be calculated, the dwelling units that were sort of deemed as necessary over the 20-year time span was 1,544. When reviewing through the OCP and the zoning bylaw currently around what the residential dwelling units we could develop in the city are within the current OCP and zoning bylaw, I tried to break things down sort of based on how permissive our current regulatory framework was. So everything within infill are things that a property owner could currently develop. Made sure to be rather conservative with that number. So essentially what goes into the infill element there at the very bottom on the right column would be if every currently vacant residential lot in the community that was in an existing neighborhood were developed to a density of 2 residential dwelling units. So of course the provincial regulation sort of has us set that minimum number to 4, but it's anticipated that not every property owner will want to carry through that to the fullest extent, or some may not choose to pursue any further development at all. So it was considered that 2 was a reasonable estimate, sort of in line with the one provided for our development cost charges. The rest of that there is more development that could occur at the fringes of the community. Phase 1 that I've outlined there for a projected number of 404 dwelling units would be for development projects in the community where we have received active applications from land developers. And of course, the OCP and the zoning bylaw are currently permissive of that development. Phase 2 is for lands that are also currently allowable for residential dwelling unit construction within both the OCP and the zoning bylaw, which I estimated to a total of 2,474 dwelling units. And you can see, of course, that already just taking those 3 categories, we've exceeded the 20-year housing needs identified in the housing needs assessment, and therefore we are compliant with what the province is asking us to do. If we wanted to sort of look even further into the future, Phase 3 outlines lands that could be developed for residential dwelling units, where either one of the OCP or zoning bylaw does not currently permit for residential dwelling unit construction, and Phase 4 is the neither category. But at this stage, we don't need to consider those 2 sections because we have already met the required needs that the province has set for us. Important to note there that regarding the phase numbering, that is not necessarily the order in which we anticipate development to occur. And that is because, of course, if a property owner comes to us with a good application, we may modify what we are currently allowing as far as residential development within our OCP or zoning bylaw. But at this time, until we receive an application from a developer, this is sort of the best guess that we can give. I know I provided in the report a map of where those lands are, but I've sort of left that out of this presentation. So up to this point, everything I've discussed is just stuff that the province is asking the municipalities to do. I think we would not. It always sucks to sort of walk away from something and say it was just because the province told us to do so. So we wanted to get some feedback from our community as well, further to just those provincial requirements, since we're already taking a full review of everything that we've done. So in looking through the feedback which we received in a survey that went out to the community, I believe I think I had the number of respondents written somewhere, but I can't find it at this moment. I think it was around 90 or so respondents. And really what we found is quite a mix of opinions, I would say. So for instance, that number 3 question there, should the city consider allowing larger accessory buildings on residential lots? For information, an accessory building generally is kind of what would be considered a secondary building to the principal on a property. So things such as sheds, detached garages, or even a detached dwelling unit. We received 54% of respondents saying they would want larger accessory buildings. And can I read that from here? 46% saying no. That is actually that is the response that was given that had the most direction amongst any of the survey questions that we put out. Pretty much everything else was somewhere in the range of 49 to 51, which sort of left us scratching our heads a bit about which way to take things. So that included the question there, number 2, on should the city consider permitting shipping containers in residential areas beyond temporary storage. We got the full range of responses there from some people saying, why don't they just build a shed? And others saying, well, this is the most cost-effective way for having secure storage on a residential property. So therefore, for those sorts of questions, the direction that staff took was that we wanted to keep in mind that any of these people or property owners who do wish to pursue a larger accessory building or a temporary storage unit in the form of a metal storage container are able to take these sorts of asks to council through the variance process or through a temporary use permit, and therefore we're not necessarily closing the door on those things as it is currently. What we're considering within the zoning bylaw is what we would allow by default. So But the one thing we did really take from that, though, is that there were a lot of challenges from users regarding the clarity of the document. Some challenges identified there in question number 1 included determining what allowable land uses are at a property, what can and can't be done, and setbacks, and a number of other things, which are typically sort of the bare basics of a zoning bylaw. So from that, staff sort of took the direction that there were opportunities within the current text to try and clarify language. So further to that point, what we sort of did there, I'm reading through my slide now. We identified that largely within the changes that were required from the province. We didn't need to make too many major changes to the actual policies within the OCP and the zoning bylaw. There were some larger changes considered to be certain, and so sort of what we took from that was that we would sort of focus mostly on how to communicate things that were already in the zoning bylaw slightly better. Some of the things which we did do within that new zoning bylaw are some diagram updates to sort of clarify the definitions within the zoning bylaw slightly better. A consolidation of certain definitions that were seen as redundant, where there was a lot of overlap or confusion regarding whether one or the other could be applied. Similarly, there was also situations where we had a singular definition where sort of they were applied maybe too broadly across multiple cases. So from there, it was thought it would be best to specify both different uses there. And from there, sort of create an additional definition as needed. One of the other things that was done is we took a larger review of a lot of individual properties throughout the city where a current zoning designation through the zoning bylaw may not currently allow for the development that is currently located on the property. So to clarify, the zoning bylaw largely regulates new development. So a development which is already existing for a property, just because we decide to modify the setbacks or something, doesn't mean that we're going to force the property owner to go back and move their building. I think that's generally seen as unreasonable. So there can be circumstances where we currently do not allow something in the zoning bylaw that might be all right for the property or is already sort of permitted at that property. And in those cases, we revisited those definitions and made certain zoning changes to specific properties where it was seen as appropriate. Further, there were a number of properties throughout the city where multiple zoning designations applied to different portions of properties. That is generally something which introduces a lot of challenges for both property owners and also administration and staff to interpret. So therefore, when we looked through the zoning bylaw where we found examples of a property where multiple zones applied to different portions, we attempted to assign one zoning designation across the entirety of the property to increase the clarity of the bylaw and the maps within it. And further to those points, any changes which were proposed by staff were sort of mailed out to the property owner specifically with sort of an element there regarding the rationale of why staff considered the change and the opportunity to refuse the change if desired, so that any changes that were incorporated into the zoning bylaw regarding the specific zoning changes were run by the property owner in advance. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for all the information. That's a lot of information, so thank you for taking the time to put this in here and present today. So appreciate it. I'll open it up to council for questions here. Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation. Zoning is one of those things where trying to keep track of all the granular details is kind of maddening, but it's a fairly important part of our work. And it's made that much more confusing by the fact that the province has taken a more active hand in recent years in deciding how we should do that. The engagement feedback is very interesting. As part of that feedback, are you collecting data around, I guess, location, where in the city they live, what their age is? Just because I'm wondering, this is about as binary as you can have, or as I've seen with respect to public feedback. Usually it's 80-20 or better in one direction or another. So I'm just wondering what story a deeper dive into the data might tell around, is it, established people who've owned their home for 20 years and have things exactly the way they like it that are more resistant to larger accessory buildings and shipping containers, and younger people who are just starting out that maybe wish they could do a bit more with their, I'm just trying to figure out where the feedback comes from and I mean what we do as a community to thread that needle if possible. Thanks, Councillor Earl.
In hindsight, given the nature of the feedback we received, I really wish we did collect more information regarding the demographics and the portions of the city which we were getting responses from. I think even in the case where we could identify specific neighborhoods where there may be certain preferences for larger or smaller accessory buildings, for instance, we would still be, for the most part, applying regulations in the zoning bylaw across most of the city. And given that people's preferences change individual to individual and neighbor street to street, I think the case-by-case approach is still something that staff felt made sense. So given that we have, to be a little broad about it, half people saying they want more of something, half the people saying they want less, we felt that maybe that was some indication we were striking some kind of balance, and that if there was a situation in which somebody did want more, they could bring something like a variance or a temporary use permit to council. We would gather the feedback of the people on that specific street, those specific neighbors, and we would provide council the opportunity to make the final decision.
Thanks, Councillor Earl. Councillor Parslow, you can keep your mic on, David.
So the days of single-family lots of land, my understanding is prohibited now. Yet when we've had other OCP stuff, there was a strong sentiment that we should have such an entity. So the will of the local people is being overruled by the provincial government, that we cannot entertain such a subdivision, correct?
Essentially, I would agree with that statement. Like mentioned before, the province is mandating that every residentially zoned property must allow for a minimum of 4 dwelling units. That said, we have had this regulation passed since 2024. And I do, on occasion, get calls from people who are interested in pursuing those additional allowances within the zoning bylaw for something like an additional dwelling unit or a secondary suite in the basement. And oftentimes the way that conversation goes is that though the zoning bylaw may allow for 4 units, there are still a number of constraints on existing properties which may practically limit how that development could take shape. A simple example would be if somebody wants to build an additional building on the back of their property, oftentimes the service may come from the front of the street and there may not be adequate room to install a new service to the back. We also have regulations within the zoning bylaw relating to fire access. So laneways are not considered to be fire access through the zoning bylaw because the city does not maintain laneways. So access must be maintained from the front. We still maintain parking regulations as well when it comes to the zoning bylaw and people having to provide, the property owner having to provide for the minimum regulated number of parking spaces for each residential property to accommodate any additional dwelling unit. So although we are within the zoning bylaw being more permissive of the number of dwelling units which could be located in each property, there are still a number of other constraints. And at this time, this regulation has been in place for at least a year now, and we haven't seen huge changes in our existing neighborhoods. I would say potentially certain developers of greenfield areas may be able to take advantage to that more so than existing neighborhoods in that they're starting from a blank slate, so they can orient their building in a way where they can maximize the number of dwelling units more so than in an existing neighborhood. But I would sort of raise that even if we are now required by the province to allow for 4 dwelling units per lot, there's still a number of other things which people in an existing neighborhood, if they were interested in increasing the density of that neighborhood, would have to abide by.
Well, the observation of myself and at least one other councillor has been that there's a lot of very nice homes being built in the country, but almost no activity in the city. And we're wondering, if this provincial dictate is really, people are looking at that and thinking, well, gee, if I'm going to build myself a nice home and not have my area intruded upon by multi-dwelling units, we're going to build in the country. And that doesn't help anything for the tax base of this community when that happens.
I believe the position of the province would be that although the local government is not necessarily being given the opportunity to regulate residential dwelling units, the market will ultimately still decide what form of construction gets built. The position of the city is just to regulate applications we do get from the market. So in that situation, if there is a high demand for that kind of development in the city, we would expect that a developer would provide plans for a neighborhood that would largely meet that need. That's sort of the position I would take there. It's not to say that any future development must have 4 dwelling units for each residential property. There's still the ability for somebody from the private side or a developer who would respond to that need or desire from people to have a largely single-family dwelling neighborhood, that is still an option for them if they choose to build it.
But there's no assurance that you build your $1 million home that's next door you're going to have a 4-plex. And that's the point. That's why I think you see so many beautiful homes being built in the country around Dawson Creek, but nothing really happening in town. We want just speculation. I mean, why is that happening? With all this other stuff, I think it overall, in the long term, mitigates people who want to spend their life here and want to have a home that they can enjoy, move to the country.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you for presenting, coming in, and appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'll adjourn committee of the whole and go back into the regular council meeting for Monday, February. Am I doing something incorrect?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry? Oh, okay. Move to adjourn. Councillor Kemp, second. Councillor Earl. Call that to vote. Councillor Parslow. Vote is closed. It's carried. All right. I'll call the regular council meeting for Monday, February 23rd. Back to order. The mic keeps going off. Thank you. Okay. Next item of business was 16, recess to close meeting. 16.1, resolution to move into the meeting of council closed to the public. For agenda item 4.1, section 91J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited. From disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. For agenda item 4.1, 5.1, and 5.2, section 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages, and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. For agenda item 5.1, section 91E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. For agenda item 6.1, section 91F, law enforcement, if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the conduct of an investigation under enforcement of an enactment. And agenda item 6.1, section 91M, a matter that under another enactment is such that the public may be excluded from the meeting. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Apollonio. I will call that to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried.